I feel like a bum. You blow a trumpet, you don't suck it. Yeah, I've got a chief duck.
You know what that is, don't you?
What's this?
Mario's the clue.
I was going to say that. Oh, this is Bob the Builder.
No, it's not Bob the Builder.
Isn't it?
It's Super Mario.
Super Mario, that's right. Yeah, I knew it was, yeah. I'll be down there with my banner and 3 fingers on each hand. Twa, twa, twa. Okay?
3 fingers on each hand.
Yeah, twa means 3. And that'll be...
They'll be shouting it back to you as well. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course there's loads and loads of football to talk about. There's loads of politics to talk about. There's loads of Beatles memorabilia to talk about. And it's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. You're absolutely right. What a thrilling and exciting 3 hours we have ahead of us.
We do indeed.
But a thrilling and exciting weekend of football. Now, the debate about Friday night football has been raging for years.
Has it?
Well, remember, do you remember, for instance, when George Graham won his first title with Arsenal?
Right, well, as manager.
It was that famous game at Anfield. Remember the last-minute goal which gave Arsenal victory?
I can't say I remember it,
In fact, it wasn't even last minute. It was 3 minutes into added on time.
Was it? Okay.
Was it Rocastle? Or no, it was the other one. They had those that terrific midfield then. There was David Rocastle was one of them. And
Liam Brady?
No, it was after Liam Brady. And I'm trying to remember. Anyway, look, some Liverpool fan will text us.
Well, I'm glad you've got it sorted out for the opening of the show.
Got it all sorted. Well, Alan Smith played in that game.
Did he?
Alan Smith, the colleague of ours, on TV, who's made a great career out of being a pundit. He was playing that night, and the situation was, as they went into the game at Anfield, Arsenal had to win 2-0 to win the league championship.
Was it on a Friday night?
Well, this is the point I'm making, but you see, you've ruined my punchline now, haven't you?
That's what I'm wondering what you're rambling on about.
Well, what I'm saying is the situation was whoever won that game was going to win the league championship, but Arsenal had to win it by 2 clear goals.
Right.
If it had drawn or Liverpool had won it 1-0, or if Liverpool had lost 1-0, Liverpool still would have taken the championship.
Right. Okay.
And guess what? It was 1-0 to the Arsenal in 93 minutes.
Yeah.
In the 94th minute, Arsenal scored the second. They
to win the league.
To win the league.
Wow.
And there's a famous picture of George Graham rushing down the Anfield tunnel under the sign, this is Anfield, because Anfield was the only ground in the country that had one of those then.
Yes.
Everybody else has got one now, you know what I mean? And it was historic. But the point I was making to you, before you so rudely interrupted me...
Well, because I'm trying to wonder what the relevance of this is.
There was no televised football in those days apart from Match of the Day.
Yes, right. There was no live televised football.
No live televised football. I think there was a Sunday afternoon programme with Brian Moore.
There was, the big match.
The big match,
I used to watch that regularly.
I used to watch that. It was great coming home from the pub, wasn't it, after 16 pints, you know what I mean?
No, I was a child when I used to watch that. I didn't go to the pub and drink 16 pints. I was about 12.
I used to play Sunday morning football and then... No, this game was... No, you're an adult when this game took place, that I'm talking about. No, I used to go to the to play Sunday morning football for Browns of Chester, and then 16 pints, because the pub was only open... No, it was only open between 12 and 2,
right.
So I used to
so
drink
8
in
pints
relay.
An hour?
Yeah,
that's an awful lot of drink.
It probably was 16. It could have been 8. It could have definitely have been 8, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then you'd stagger home, because putting that much alcohol into your body in such a short period of time used to make you incredibly bladderated very quickly. And then you'd eat your Sunday lunch, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whilst watching the big match. But anyway, what happened was we got to this last...
Kung Fu used to be on before it.
Everybody go Kung Fu fighting.
No, not that Kung Fu. No, David Carradine's Kung Fu.
Oh, David Carradine's, okay.
You know, Grasshopper and all that.
Grasshopper.
That used to be on before, but the big match.
Anyway, point of my story is...
It's got a hell of a long way round to get to Friday night football.
It gets to last week, and all of a sudden it's announced that ITV have applied for the rights to the game to show it on Friday night instead of Saturday for the title decider.
What? Oh, for that game?
Yes, for that game.
Oh, I see.
And it was shown, and it was a miracle. Now,
so it was a Friday night game?
It was a Friday night game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the punchline, you see, which you stole. Now then, the esteemed editor of our newspaper, Sir Nicholas Lloyd...
At the time, yes.
At the time...
Big Arsenal fan.
Well, yeah, but you see, I used to pull him up on this, because when he was a young man, as a young reporter on the Daily Mail, having come down from Oxford University, he lived in a flat in Chelsea and was a Chelsea fan.
Right.
And he changed allegiances. So I've never regarded him as anything except a charlatan.
See, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, he rings me up and said, I'm in tears. I'm so happy, you know. And he said, me and Oliver were rolling around on the floor. Oliver was his Dimbo's son. Who
That's
actually,
a bit harsh.
No, who actually grew up to become an extremely capable and able businessman.
For?
Well, he was a bit of a dope in those days. He was pandered.
He was a child.
He was pandered by his mother a little bit, you know. Yeah. But anyway, the point of the story is, I said to
I'm
Nick...
exhausted already with this story.
Yeah. I said...
Dear God, there's a Chelsea-Liverpool game coming up tonight. We're going to talk about that.
That's what we're going to do, because it's Friday night.
Yeah,
We're talking
right.
about Friday night football.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I was bladderated because I'd been on the wine watching this game.
Not a surprise.
And you know, I'm not going to say that I was hoping Liverpool would lose, because I'm not like that.
No.
I have no envy or malice in me
No, I
whatsoever.
know. Well, there's a
for any
big
other club.
Liverpool theme in the show tonight.
Well, yeah, there is, yeah. And but I have to say, I thought it was such a moment of drama, of theatre, of football poetry, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That I was glad I was a part of it and watched it. And I said to Sir Nicholas, I said, I don't know what you're crying for, Nick. You're probably crying because you can't remember who you support. You support Chelsea, now you support Arsenal. How dare you speak to me like that, you know? And
so there went your career again. Now, according to people who are sending lots and lots of messages in on your story, Duncan in Leicester says this: Porky, you plank. That match was the last of the season, and there had been regular Sunday afternoon football that season.
No.
Get your bloody facts right.
No, not live, mate. There hadn't been, honestly.
Well, so was it Sunday or Friday?
It was Friday night. It was a Friday night
sure?
game. I'm certain. I'm absolutely certain it was a Friday night game. And it was Thomas. It was Thomas who scored the winning goal.
I've got this from Steve. He says, it took a bit of offence to Mike Parry saying not David Rocastle, but the other one scoring, the other one being Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas, thank you very much
indeed. Lots of people
indeed.
saying Michael Thomas scored the goal.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm telling you. So there you are, moment of history, which I've just focused on.
And Daniel says it was Michael Thomas, you clown, and he ended up playing for Liverpool later in his career.
He did, that's right, absolutely right. Well, I got it before you told me his name. I got Michael Thomas, don't worry about that.
Well, I didn't know it. Blaze says this: the Arsenal win at Anfield was the best live football drama ever.
It was.
On TV.
It was.
And it ended the arrogance of a good Liverpool team.
Yeah, it did, actually. It completely flattened and destroyed, what's his name? You know, the centre-forward who took over when Ian Rush went to Turin, but then got offloaded when Ian Rush came back from Turin.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
He was infamous for patting the head of the player in the cup final who missed the penalty.
Oh, yeah.
John, he was Ireland centre-forward.
Who's centre-forward?
Ireland
centre-forward.
centre-forward.
No,
John, I thought you used to support Liverpool.
Well, no, I never supported Liverpool, but all of these games you're talking about, I was in America, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't really following the football.
John Aldridge was the Liverpool centre-forward. And I remember seeing him at the end of the game. He was so deflated. I think it finished him, you know what I mean? It knocked all the stuffing out of him, that sort of thing.
Right.
Very unusual to see a Liverpool team beaten on the home territory in such an important game because, of course, they were almost invincible in those days.
Yeah.
But that was the making of George Graham. That's when people realised, wow, George Graham's got this magic formula. If you don't concede goals, you can win things.
It wasn't just 1-0 to the Arsenal either. It was 2-0
well,
to
exactly,
the Arsenal.
Exactly. 2-0.
Becky says this: Friday night football is great. I get to watch the Chelsea-Liverpool game at 6:45 a.m. Saturday morning over breakfast.
Where's that?
She's in New Zealand.
In New Zealand, yeah, that's very good. So I do honestly think it's.
I think Friday night football's great. I don't think there's any reason why there shouldn't be Friday night football every single week.
I think it's an addition to the football spectacle at weekends. And I tell you who loves it more than anything. Now, my local landlady, right, who I talk to.
Oh, yeah. What's her name?
Her name is...
You don't know, do you?
Hang on.
How can you not know the name of your local landlady?
Excuse me, hang on. Her name is Gail.
Gail?
Yes.
Okay.
She's the one I opened the pub for.
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay. I reopened her pub.
How's that place going?
Renovated. I don't know. I don't go in there anymore.
So she's not really your local landlady?
Yes, she is.
Did they pay you to open it?
There was a discussion about all that. Don't worry about that. No,
or do you just go in and claim your 8 pints every time you pop in?
No. Honestly, I'm not joking.
I know a guy that got a free sort of stay at any particular hotel chain because he did something for it. So every time he goes anywhere, he just stays in one of these hotels for nothing.
Well, it wasn't quite that, but there was an assumption on either side. My assumption, as I was rung up by the brewery's sort of regional manager, was it was an official job. You know? Her version of events was, well, you're a local. She's a journey girl.
Right.
I thought you'd do it for nothing.
Oh, really?
You know?
They don't know you very well, do they?
No, exactly.
Shocking.
But anyway, she tells me...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, but hang on.
Can we talk about the Chelsea-Liverpool game at any point?
We are going to talk about Chelsea. If you get a live game Saturday at lunchtime, that's good for business. Get a live game Saturday evening, still good for business.
Yes.
2 live games Sunday, good for business. But the live game Friday, wow, what a bonus extra that is. Because that's the biggest one of all, because people are coming out of work on Friday evening.
And they decide to just hang around a bit longer in the pub.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll tell you what I noticed last Saturday, actually. It was very quiet on the roads during the Manchester derby. Because lots of people were watching the football and not going out driving.
I suppose so.
Fascinating stuff. Now, we've got to talk about Joey Barton as well up at Rangers. He's got himself into a bit of bother.
Joey!
Without trying too hard, I would have to say.
Joey!
We're going to be talking to a man who's been to sea 8 days a week as well. well, so you'd be very excited about that.
8 days
it was
a week.
It was premiered all over the country last night.
I see Mr. Warburton, by the way, the Rangers manager, is praising TalkSport for having a really sensible view about Rangers.
How they're doing. Yeah, well, TalkSport's often known for being very of in the next few weeks because that is a theme tune for 8 days a week, the Ron Howard film, which opened yesterday across the nation in various
and
different
across
places.
The world,
and across the world, I think, as well. Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr are on the front pages of a few of the papers this morning.
Indeed.
Having been to the London premiere. We're going to talk now to a young man by the name of Paul Woodcock, who saw the movie in Birmingham, I believe, and also saw us in Birmingham when we played at Birmingham Rep.
Indeed,
So you might remember meeting Paul. Paul, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Caps.
Hi, Paul.
Thank you very much indeed for being a sort of citizen journalist for us. Tell us about the movie. What did you think of it?
Well, it's fantastic. I've been a Beatles fan for quite a number of years as well. And what was quite good about the movie is there's quite a lot of new footage that I hadn't seen before as a fan. I mean, they did, Porky will probably remember, they did the anthology series towards the end of the 90s. And this film features quite a lot of footage that I hadn't seen before, which was quite interesting. I mean, for example, there was a really good piece of footage of the cop at Anfield in the early 60s, all singing "She Loves You," which is quite a thing to behold. But no, it was a really good film. And obviously, seeing the premiere at the cinema as well, it was the red carpet, or indeed the blue carpet at Leicester Square, was beamed live, and you saw all the celebs arriving, and Madonna. And,
so Paul, what's the basic plot of this film? Is it a documentary of the Beatles on tour, mostly in America?
It is mainly that. I mean, it concerns itself with the early part of the Beatles' career from sort of 1962 to sort of 66.
Well, of course, they gave up touring after 66, didn't they?
Yeah, and what becomes quite apparent as they get bigger and bigger is the fact that you can tell that they just get completely cheesed off with the fact that nobody can hear them anymore because of all the screaming.
Yes.
Which is obviously why they decided to give up touring and then just, got a bit more experimental in the studio. But it's, I mean, it probably has got more of an American slant to it in regards to what was going on. I mean, it's quite interesting looking back now that it sort of really showed what the impact they had at that point of the world in terms of what was going on, especially in America, with JFK and Vietnam and all that.
Now, the thing is, Paul, you say that you've been a Beatles fan quite a long time. I've been a Beatles fan all my life. I kind of grew up with the Beatles, from the early 60s. And what I find astonishing, so I'm asking you now really about the crowd that were around you at the cinema tonight. What amazes me is that generation after generation is being introduced to a phenomenon that actually ended 40 years ago.
Well, that's right. I mean, I've just turned, I was 40 last year, so, they were sort of a bit before my time. But I mean, I'd play in bands and stuff like that. And it's just one of those things that everyone who really has any interest in music just seems to like the Beatles. And
yes.
I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and she knows who the Beatles are,
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. And
crikey.
I think it's just going to be one of those things that I think for future generations, it's just going to be one of those things that everyone will know a Beatles song.
Sure. Oh, well, I think they will know a Beatles song because, I mean, like...
It's surprising in a way, isn't it, that not that many have been covered, really? I mean, when you consider
they weren't allowed to for many years.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm talking about now.
Yes.
There's one of the things I'm looking at here, Paul, and which is may or may not be of any significance at all. The film 8 Days a Week is not trending on Twitter at all. So you wonder whether there's, there's groups of us who think that, the Beatles are this massive phenomenon and everybody knows about them and everybody loves them.
Yeah.
But maybe not everybody does.
Well, maybe. I mean, obviously, it was just the premiere tonight. It hasn't gone on general release yet. I mean, certainly the screening I went to tonight was, I would have said, 80 to 90% sold out.
Right.
And there were various ages of people in the audience. So I think there's still a big market for it. And certainly just the fact that they're still making films like this.
Well, you see, the thing is that you take all media organisations in this the world, really, they're all run by people who are still of an age to be a Beatles fan, if you understand what I mean. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So the editors of Fleet Street newspapers, I mean, the editor of the Daily Mail is about 70, Mike, isn't he, or something like that?
I would imagine so, yeah.
And so that's a perfect age to still be a Beatles fan. You see what I mean? So they've got it on the front tonight, haven't they? A picture of McCartney and Ringo
Starr. Quite a few of the papers
Starr.
have. The Telegraph
Yeah, they have, and that's why it's there. It'll be very, very interesting to see what happens
You're right.
Yes, I am, yeah. In about 30 years' time, when this generation's all died off.
Yeah.
But I still think, like you, Paul, they'll be big because, excuse me, you're absolutely right. You know, every day you hear a Beatles song, whether it's in a supermarket, whether, you know, it's an advert or something like that. And unbeknown to us all, we're still all humming Mozart and Beethoven and Tchaikovsky tunes every day.
What, you do that every day?
Every day.
Tchaikovsky and Mozart?
Every day.
Which Tchaikovsky tune do you hum? Hey?
No, you hear classic, don't you, songs every day. You do.
Well, you do, I suppose,
It's funny, Porky, actually. There's a segment of the film of where they have a musical expert on who compares the Beatles' output with Mozart to say that their level of output wasn't really comparable from those early kind of classical composers.
Yeah. What, you mean the classical composers wrote more?
Well, no, as in, since the classical composers of sort of Mozart's day,
yes,
the Beatles were the first group that came along that had that level of catalogue and level of songs.
I can believe it.
Sort of...
and just the ability to continue writing and churning them out so quickly. Yeah.
Well, exactly. If if I said to you, get me the back catalogue for the Searchers, who were a group.
Searchers?
Yeah, the Searchers.
Well, it's not much of a comparison.
Well, it is, because they were a group around in the 60s as well. Or Billy J. Kramer and the
Rolling
Dakotas.
Stones?
Well, the Rolling Stones are still going.
Yeah.
So obviously they've got a huge back catalogue, and Elton John and all that kind of stuff. But no, you're absolutely right, Paul. And which theatre did you watch it in, Paul?
I went to the Cineworld at the Resorts World, which is next to the NEC in Birmingham.
Oh, okay, fine. That's great. Yeah. So and did it seem?
And is it recommendable? Do you think to people who maybe are not that into the Beatles? I mean, do you have to be into the Beatles to enjoy it?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, if you didn't like the Beatles, this is a perfect excuse to kind of understand where they came from, and it starts from the word go, and it's got all the hits in there, and and it's not overly long either, and it's if you love the Beatles, you'll love it, and if you don't, then you should see it anyway. Because if you like music, you should see this film.
Did you see any of the dark side of John Lennon?
Well, what was interesting was that there's a definite element of John Lennon that you could see throughout the film where he just got really, really fed up with the fact that people couldn't understand what the Beatles are doing in concert because of the screaming, and there was obviously the Bigger Than Jesus remark, which was taken out of context in America, and he obviously got a lot of trouble for that.
Sure.
He wasn't wrong, though, really, was he?
Well no, that's right.
In terms of popularity, he was absolutely right, but of course the Bible Belt in America said this was blasphemous.
Yeah. They started burning his records, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah. Bit harsh.
Excellent.
But you could definitely tell that, obviously, it takes the movie, goes up to pretty much Sgt. Pepper, and obviously it stops there.
Yeah.
But you can tell that they've got to the point of where they are just so fed up of playing live, and they just wanted to sort of hide away in the studio. And
well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why eventually the Beatles broke up, because Paul McCartney, a couple of years later, 68, 69, actually said to John Lennon, I think we're losing direction here. Why don't we go back on the road? And Lennon said that was the last thing in the world he ever wanted. He would never do that again, not with the Beatles, And their creative differences sort of emerged from there, and it was inevitable they were then going to split, because Lennon simply didn't want to do it, and Paul McCartney did. The first thing Paul McCartney did when the Beatles split was grab a couple of mates, stick a load of musical instruments in the back of a van, and drive to Nottingham University and appear on their stage there. Yeah. That's how much he wanted to be on the road.
Well, listen, Paul, I really appreciate you telling us all about it. Thank you very much for ringing in, and we'll see you around at one of our live shows, I'm sure.
Yep, cheers, chaps.
Thanks very much indeed. Paul Woodcock there, who was up in Birmingham watching it. Yeah, the little snippet of information I meant to tell you, and I forgot about this, but last weekend, remember I said I took the family out for dinner on Sunday night?
Yes.
It's a new restaurant in a little town nearby.
What's it called?
I'm not going to tell you what it's called.
Oh, okay.
But
it's a secret where you go for dinner on Sunday night.
Well, of course it's a secret. I'm not like you. I mean, apart from the fact that you don't really tell anybody where you go, and you never show any pictures of where you go, you're always attempting to try and tell everybody where I go.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were mocking me for showing the world a picture of me in the Savoy last weekend.
Well, that's about the only picture I've ever seen of you out with a woman in the last 2-3 years.
Well, I'm very discreet about it normally.
Oh, are you? How many women have you been out with in the last 2 or 3 years?
I can't answer that question.
Exactly.
Anyway, get on with your snippet of news, please.
Anyway, this new restaurant that's opened up was visited just the night before by 3 members of Paul McCartney's band, because apparently they were down in Sussex doing something. What?
Which band?
The band that he currently has.
What's
Not Wings. I don't know, but they play
What
with...
were the names of these musicians?
I don't know what they were, but there was a picture of them in the restaurant because they'd been out there and they were recording something with Paul McCartney down in Sussex.
Hang on.
So I just thought you'd like that piece of information.
Let me just get this right. 3 members of a band whose names you don't know, who play in a band whose name you don't know, Allegedly
they played
for
with Paul McCartney, yeah.
who doesn't seem to have a band at the moment.
Well, no, but he always has a band, doesn't he? I mean, what do you know about music? You could put on the back of a bloody postage stamp.
Well, I mean,
blank.
what you know about
what
you know,
I'm telling
Paul
you is that he's
band.
recording something in Sussex, and three of the
what's he
people.
recording?
Well, he's probably recording some music, Porky. What do you think?
So you don't know who these three unnamed members, an unknown band, are recording, or if they're recording, where they're recording.
No, but I'm telling you it because you're such a maniac about the Beatles. I thought you might be interested. But if you're not interested, you can get stuff. Okay, you can get lost, and you can bugger off.
You told me this is a nugget of great information.
Well, I thought you'd be interested.
In fact, it's a palpable piece of...
Stick it up your jumper.
A palpable piece of nonsense.
Bearded weirdo.
Palpable piece of nonsense.
This is Talk Sport. I'm sick of the Beatles. I'm sick of you.
What a load of rubbish.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down, when you're strange. Faces come out of the rain when you're strange. No one remembers your name when you're strange. When you're strange. When you're strange.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. We're going to talk about Joey Barton in a moment.
Yes.
Jamie says this. That has made my night, MG having a rant at Porky and summing up what most listeners think.
Well, it's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I'm surprised the bearded weirdo didn't demand that his fat, hairy, flabby face be all over Talk Sport's new TV ad, says Freddie.
Yeah,
Have you seen Talk Sport's new ad, by the way?
I haven't actually.
Very
no.
good.
Is it? Very good, yeah. It's
groundbreaking
informative
stuff. Yeah.
Informative, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
it was on.
good.
I saw it the other night during the sort of the highlights of all the Champions League stuff.
That was the programme that Sam Matterface was involved in.
I think it was, yeah. And
no.
Dazza says, how you didn't swear is beyond me. I'm laughing out loud at that.
Well, I'll tell you something. I mean, do you know why you got so irate? And I'm just going to let the listeners know this. You knew that you'd made a terrible error.
Not at all. I told you something I thought you'd be interested in.
No, you told me something that was nothing. That was the point.
It wasn't
that
nothing.
was the point. The problem was it was a piece of non-information.
Not true.
And it became aware to you as I queried you about it, questioned you about it, that there was actually nothing in this.
I thought you'd be interested. Because you're so interested in anything. You know, if Paul McCartney sneezes, you want to have a guest to talk about it with.
Well,
you know, you want to go on and on endlessly about a film called 8 Days a Week, which is not even trending on Twitter, and I suspect is only going to be shown in cinemas, I think, one time only tonight, right?
Yes.
It's not going to be shown, so you can't go and see it in the cinema tomorrow, and neither can anybody else.
What, you mean it's not running for like 6 weeks or
I don't think it is. I think
Must
I
be.
think the whole point of the film was they were going to do this explosive kind of...
Well, how does anybody get to see it now? Do they have to download it on a video?
I think so, yeah.
Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Well,
I could be wrong about that.
Anyway, no, the thing is, Mike, when you make a right Herbert of yourself, you get very angry with yourself.
No, I don't.
And you
Not
lost
true.
control. You completely lost
No,
control.
I did not.
That's why I don't show any offence.
No.
That's why I'm not in any way
if I had
upset.
lost control, I would have sworn.
No.
I didn't swear, therefore I didn't.
Well,
Steve says this, ha, nearly choked on my vino then. Tell him as it is, Mike.
Yeah.
See, people enjoy it when I give you a bit of a home truths lesson.
Well, yes, but they also enjoy the fact that it's like water off a duck's back to me, because I know that basically you're frustrated with yourself because your intelligence has let you down.
No, not at all. I gave you some information.
I can see through you from a mile off.
You can see through me, can you?
Yeah,
all right, well, let's not start the old free character reading, shall we?
Yeah,
How about this from Abdul?
Well, and by the way, looking through you is like looking through the Mersey Tunnel. It's that wide. Anyway,
is that right?
Go on, yeah.
You're going up to Liverpool, aren't you?
I'm going to Liverpool on the Rattler on Saturday.
Which one are you getting?
Goodison.
Which train are you getting?
What do you mean?
Well, which train are you getting on?
What's that got to do with you?
Well, because you want me to tell people where I go for dinner. Why don't you tell people what train you're going on so they can come and join you in your first-class carriage, man of the people
Excuse
style?
me, I'm not sure I'm even going on the train yet.
You just said you were.
I'm thinking about it, but I may have other work to do up there in places like Runcorn.
Are you taking Sarah with you?
I'm not taking Sarah with me, no.
You can bring a clutch bag.
Like Runcorn, where they make pork scratchings.
Pork scratchings? Oh, yes. Oh, right, yes. I thought that was Wigan Way, wasn't it?
It is. Wigan Runcorn. It's around there somewhere.
It's on the bridge.
Yeah.
Good God, says Abdul. I wasn't
Runcorn,
alive during the Beatles stuff, but Porky's forced it into my head. I'm beginning to think they are my neighbours.
Yeah, well, they soon will be. But look, it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's all happened. It's all over the papers. You quite rightly say. I bet you by morning it will be trending on Twitter.
Well, it should be trending now. That's my point. It's not. I'm not being critical of the film.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical of the film, but I just wonder sometimes if there's an age thing going on where lots of kids like the Beatles because because their parents play the music to them.
Yeah,
but there might be an age gap where there's an awful lot of young people who use Twitter who might not care that much about the Beatles.
No, you could be absolutely right.
Anyway, let's talk about Joey Barton because.
And by the way, let's give a mention to Southampton, who had a fantastic victory last
night.
Yes, they did. 3-0.
Well, we'll be talking to Mark Donaldson coming up very shortly, so he can give them a big hello. And also, we will probably have to touch upon Jose Mourinho having a go at all the players on the back page, saying they've got no ambition. Apparently, Manchester United.
And Koeman making Ross Barkley watch his video nasty horror.
Oh, really?
First 45 minutes of the game against
Forcing him to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Becky says this: back to the madness, abusing Porky on air. Hope TalkSport HR team aren't listening. Harassment and bullying frowned upon.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That wasn't anything like harassment.
Totally agree with that.
Anyway, Joey Barton, right? Does this man think of himself as something other than what he actually is?
Yeah.
Have you seen his apology?
Yes,
or his statement, rather?
Yeah. 2 pages.
I mean, does he think he's that important? 1 to Rangers and 2 to the rest of the world.
Well, I think you're being a bit harsh there because, Joey's a good guy. I mean, he's been a bad guy, but he's a reformed guy.
Are you sure?
And he thinks his way through life now.
It doesn't sound as if he was being a very good guy at the training ground.
Well, there was no violence involved.
Well, yeah, he didn't stub anybody's eye out with a lit cigar.
Oh, it's a bit harsh.
Well, that's what he's done before.
Well, he has. I mean, he's punched people down to the ground and drunken, behaviour and that kind of stuff. But you have to say that's a thing of the past. No, what I'm saying is, you have to give the guy credit for. He went on about passion a lot in his statement, okay, and I think he went on about that to say this is why I was probably so violently offensive, verbally, to my teammates.
Yes.
Now, I mean,
I presume he was also verbally offensive to Warburton as well, to Mark Warburton, the manager.
No, I don't think he was, you see. I think it was him and another player. But what I'm saying is, Mark Warburton, who's a highly intelligent man, he used to... What else did he used to do?
He was manager of Brentford, wasn't he?
Manager of Brentford. Before that, he was in the world of finance, I think.
Oh, was he?
No, I think he was, honestly, yeah. So what I'm saying is...
He's not a bread guy, then?
Hey?
He's not the Warburton's bread guy.
No, nothing to do with that. I love Warburton's loaves, by the way. No, don't you?
No,
because
not really.
They're thick for toast, but I don't use them for toast. I use them for doorstep sandwiches. Yeah, because they're thick bread.
Corned beef.
Yeah, hey?
Corned beef.
Or ham and cheese.
Ham and cheese. Or roast beef, even.
Roast beef sometimes, yeah. Sometimes roast beef, yeah.
No, I prefer to get my bread from a local bakery.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I like that as well. Do a bit of that. Hey, do you ever have tiger bread?
Tiger bread?
Yeah,
no, I don't know what that is.
Well, they what they do is they sort of they roast like the crust on it. You know what I mean? So it's called tiger bread.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that then?
Get it in like Morrison's.
Really?
That's where I get it. Yeah.
Tiger bread.
Yeah, tiger bread.
Is it wrapped in plastic or is it like fresh bread?
It's wrapped in plastic, but it's been cooked in their bakery, and then they put the plastic seal around it. See what I mean?
Right.
But it's absolutely lovely.
Is it? I'll look out for it.
It's got very crusty crust, so to speak.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I've never heard of it.
But anyway, so that's the bread. That's got nothing to do with it. No, the way I read the situation is that Joey really gave a verbal volley to a teammate, which was.
But I mean, what right does he have to do that? I mean, you saw. You may not have seen the whole game. I didn't see the whole game, but certainly saw highlights of the game against Celtic. Yeah, the one they were awful, but he was really awful. I mean, he did nothing.
No,
he was run rings round him by Scott Brown.
I totally agree. He couldn't pick a ball up. He couldn't hold a ball. He couldn't initiate anything. Right. But he admits to himself he was bad. But anyway, he gives this volley to the other players. This is why I'm reading it, and it was so violently abusive, of mouth. There was no violence involved.
Yeah.
That he was sent home by the coaching staff.
And told not to come back till Monday.
Yeah, that's right. The head of whom is Mark Warburton. Now he's then. In the old days, he'd have gone one or two ways. Up yours, I want to transfer, something like this, or whatever.
Some of the papers on the back pages this morning is saying he's on his way out.
Yeah, well, that has been speculated that he's finished because it so disrupted the squad at a time when they were vulnerable. However, he issued this 2-page statement, and he says it's all down to passion. So,
well, he says that, but it's all very well saying I'm very passionate, but then when you play, you don't actually seem to have any passion at all.
No, I think that's different. I think he's got passion, but I think he's found that, at his age now, his legs are perhaps not being able to interpret what his brain wants them to do.
He says, I cannot apologise for caring deeply about winning and for wanting to perform better myself and for Rangers to do much better. But, I mean, it sounds to me like he's been telling everyone how they have to be better when he has to be better as well.
Yeah, he has. And I agree with you. That's incongruous, isn't it?
Because, well, it is. Because, I mean, it's a bit like anyone that working in a team or something.
That's right.
Who's messing everything up, coming telling you, you've got to buck your ideas up.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could say, to put it into perspective, if you are Roy Keane and you have a go at your teammates, that actually quite means something.
Yes.
if you're Joey Barton, who hasn't been long at Rangers, and whose performances...
And who said that he was going to go into Scotland and run the football world in Scotland.
And whose performances are not really up to scratch, then perhaps you should be a little bit more measured about when and who you decide to go up against.
Yes.
If you're doing it on the basis that, well, I used to play in the Premier League in England, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that might have been it.
Yeah, it might have been. But he's always had a much higher opinion of himself than he was really deserving to have, in
It
my
hasn't
view.
done him any harm, because in the sense that...
Well, he's made a lot of money.
Exactly, made an awful lot of money, and he's always managed to earn the respect of people in the game.
Yes.
If you talk a good game about your own game, other people start to believe it.
Yeah. Now, I've got something interesting to tell you about his statement, right?
Okay.
Because you know what he's done. He's basically written his statement in notes on an iPhone.
Okay.
Which comes out like that.
Oh, I see.
And he's then put it out on Twitter.
Sorry, to the listeners who haven't got a TV screen, that was MG showing me the iPhone version
Well, I have
of
to
the
show you
statement.
that. Well, because everybody knows what an iPhone notes page looks
Yes,
like.
but you
apart
said
from
it
you.
looks like that. You should have explained to the listeners what you were doing.
No, I don't need to do that because everybody else out there knows what it looks like.
Yeah, well...
They know exactly what it looks like,
anyway,
but I'm explaining it to you because you don't know what it looks like, right?
You just keep going, please.
Anyway, what I noticed from his screen grab of the notes that he took is that his battery on his phone is on 7%. Now, that tells me something
How do you know
interesting.
that?
Well, because you can see it in the top right-hand corner. His battery is on 7%.
Oh, I see. Yeah, blimey, my
Now-
phone doesn't work on 7%.
No, well, I mean, what I think, though, is that tells you a lot about somebody. If they allow their phone to run down to that extent,
Yes.
that tells me that that's a person who's not totally in control of their life.
Mine,
Because you should never let your phone go down to 7%.
mine bleeps at 30.
Does it?
And then it double bleeps at 15.
Really?
But I have to say, the one thing I do like about my phone, mine's a Samsung,
Yeah.
it's got a hell of a long battery life.
Has
Is
it?
2 days
Well, as long
sometimes.
as it doesn't go burst into flames, you'll
Yeah,
be fine.
well, it's not the updated version
No.
that blows flames. But okay, so you think really?
I'm saying anyone who allows their phone to go down to that level has got a problem with organisation.
Okay, now you've worked up in Scotland. You know the nature of the people.
I
up
certainly
there.
have.
Do you think that they will actually have the same sort of feelings about Joey Barton as you've just expressed?
Well, I think
that,
they will.
You know, throwing stones when you live in a glass house is not necessarily a good idea.
Well, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have been up to the cauldron that is Glasgow in terms of football.
Yes.
Rangers and Celtic and all the rest of it. This is the first year they're back together again, as we know.
Yeah.
And, lots of people think, I'll just go up there and play for a while and it'll be fine. It's completely different from anything anywhere else in the world, I think. Because it's quite a small community.
Yeah.
There's very, very few places you can go without being spotted.
Yes.
And you literally either become a hero or you become a villain.
Yeah.
And if he becomes a villain, he won't last very long.
No.
That's my view, anyway.
Yeah, I suppose that, if you're doing it, as you quite rightly say, if Joey Barton decides he's going to become the arbiter of good and bad play in the Rangers team, he's got to lead by example, hasn't
Yes,
he?
exactly right. Now, Taxi Man, who knows these things, because
Right.
he's a Hackney cab driver up in Glasgow, says Barton apparently had a full-scale row with the manager in front of everyone.
Did he?
So it's not just with some of the players.
Because
I
they
think that's
named the
point.
player that he had the big row with.
Yeah.
The player's actually named in the stories I've read.
Yeah.
What's his name?
The guy that he actually had a row with? Yes,
yeah.
he did. They did name him. Yeah,
Yes,
I haven't
exactly.
got it to
No,
hand at the
no,
moment.
exactly, yeah.
How about this from the boy Sangster?
Right.
Tell that plank Porky. Paul McCartney's band is Paul Wicks Videns, Brian Ray, Rusty Anderson, and Abe Laboriel Jr.
Thank you very much indeed.
So those must be the guys.
And what records have they made? Do we
Well,
know?
they're in the middle of making one. That's my point.
In the middle of making one, okay.
Or maybe they played on his last album. I don't know. Have you got his last album? The
Hey?
one that came. He released an album a few months ago.
No, I haven't, no.
Why not?
I don't buy McCartney albums anymore because I, just got past it, really, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, one here from Glenn. Porky, you have exposed old MG as the fraud he is. He says he's never heard of Tiger Bread but claims he worked in a bakery.
No, I did, but I didn't work in a...
It's a very good point. Thank you,
No,
Glenn.
it's not a very good point because I
Thank
didn't work
you,
in
Glenn.
I didn't work in a bakery that made bread. I actually worked in a patisserie, which is slightly different. We used to get the bread in from a Greek guy who made it down in Camden Town. We didn't make bread.
Did you make donuts?
We did make brioche, though. I didn't make donuts, no. It was Hungarian confectioners.
Oh,
so we made...
what sort of stuff do you make?
Well,
Goulash?
Goulash?
Yeah.
No.
They eat a lot of that in
Well, they do,
Hungary.
yeah, but that would be for a restaurant, wouldn't it?
Well, you know what I mean.
Like the Gay Hussards, where you go for that.
Hussar,
No, we made croissants, we made Danish pastries,
Yes.
we made mince pies at Christmas.
Mince pies.
We made a thing called Gugeloff, which is a sort of a
Gugeloff.
sponge. Gugeloff, which is like a sponge cake with a hole in the middle.
Heard him up, Google off, Google off,
My
Google off.
speciality
Heard him
was-
up, Google off, Google off.
My speciality was one that you would like.
Your
actually. It was
speciality.
making fruit flans.
Fruit flans.
Because that was why I was so interested
Oh,
in
I
your
see, my
pear
pear
flan.
flan, yeah, I
because
see.
I used to make. We used to make pear flans, strawberry
Right.
flans,
Okay.
grape flans.
Okay.
We used to make cream cakes.
See, the audience have picked up on your mood tonight. Steve here says, Porky, old MG seems to be a bit grumpy tonight. Be careful you don't get a smack in the mouth before the show is over.
I'm not at all grumpy. I just was getting bored listening to more, rambling on about the Beatles.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the Beatles on every bloody show that we do.
Well, I'm sorry, but they're more famous than you, so the audience would rather hear about them.
Two of them are dead.
Mind you, your complete lack of control on the show in the first half hour
really
has been noted.
Well, we've actually been going to go for 45 minutes, so you better check your watch.
Oh, no, but it was in the first half hour that you completely lost control of yourself.
Well, I lost control of myself because I couldn't stand any more of your nonsense about the bloody Beatles.
Is that right? Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
I don't want to change the world. I'm not looking for a New England. Are you looking for another girl? I don't want to change the world. I'm not looking for a New England. Are you looking for another girl?
Now we've got loads and loads of football to talk about. There's loads coming up this weekend, beginning, of course, tonight with Chelsea against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, which is going to be amazing. Porky's going to the Everton-Middlesbrough game on Saturday afternoon as well. Mark Donaldson, who's a man we haven't spoken to for quite some time, is here.
Yeah, but, your good luck doesn't last, does it?
What? What, you mean for Mark or for you? Mark Donaldson, a very good morning to you. I'm not quite sure what Porky meant by that.
Wow, I was just going to praise you for your trips to Edinburgh and your various things around the world, and then you go and do that, Mr. Porky.
This is what you learn about Parry, you see. Once you get to know him and he feels comfortable with you, he then just turns you over and does something horrible.
No, Mark, it's just...
How are you both?
Very well indeed, Mark. Just a bit of banter there, mate, and I hope you were listening about half an hour ago when old MG completely lost his rag because I pulled him up on a load of drivel he was talking about Paul McCartney, and he lost it. Honestly, if you haven't heard it, get the podcast and go back on it. Mark, great to have you back on the show, mate. And what do you make of the first week of European action? Spectacular in its way for Manchester City and Leicester, but disappointing for others.
Yeah, wasn't it? And I think you saw the gulf in class between Europe's elite and the also-rans. Obviously, Barcelona and Bayern doing well, Manchester City doing well. And unfortunately, you've got teams like Legia Warsaw, who lost 6 at home to Borussia Dortmund, Celtic, who lost 7 at Barcelona, Rostov, who lost 5 at Bayern. That's now, gents. I mean, what's it going to be like in 2-3 years' time when the rich get richer?
Totally agree.
Exactly. I mean, we're going to end up with a state that this is just going to be the case. Getting to the Champions League is going to be like it is for Celtic, and nothing against them. Good on them for reaching the group stages. But unfortunately, the gulf now between the best and the rest is big, and it's only going to get bigger.
And do you think that might lead to the split then that everybody talks about, where they have this kind of Super League scenario?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Well, I think the design in this Champions League and the kind of top 4 teams getting 4 teams in the Champions League automatically to try and fend off the possibility of this breakaway league as well. But I mean, it's different because what we want and what we actually get as supporters is very different because, I mean, you see most match day 6, there's a lot of dead rubbers. You see some of when you've got first against second in the knockout stages as well, more often than not, it's the team that finished first in the group who get the second leg at home that go through as well. I think it's a kind of tired format. I'd love to see the whole knockout stage reintroduced right from the beginning, but that's never going to happen because it's all driven by cash, and that's the problem that we've got now, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, but you see, I think unless the people who organise the Champions League, Mark, tighten it up, as MG has just commented upon, the competition is going to become so loose and flabby, somebody else will come in with an awful lot of money and say, right, forget the Champions League, it's going to be the World Super League. You know, we'll have 4 teams from South America or something like that. And I'm not saying that will lead to the breakup of things like the Premier League, but it will replace the Champions League.
Well, they can't do both, though, can they?
Well, I think if you scrap the Champions League, if they all pull out, I mean, this has happened before, Mark, hasn't it? The Premier League in this country could only happen when all the clubs resigned from the Football League. So there is a precedent.
Yeah, the Premier League is now probably the biggest league in the whole of Europe. And I'll go back to something I said 6 months ago. The Premier League decided they didn't need a sponsor. They didn't need the money from a sponsor. Yeah. And that tells you everything you need to know. It's a behemoth now as well. And they're able to attract players from Italy, from Spain, from France, whereas they didn't used to be as well. I was lucky enough to be at Anfield on Saturday for Liverpool against Leicester. And you see all the branded logos and you see everything as well. I mean, it's done, and it is this big, huge brand now, the Premier League, and it shows no sign whatsoever of abating because people say when the bubble bursts. I'm not sure this bubble will burst. It's like, say, I'm just sitting watching here, Buffalo against New York Jets, Thursday night football in the NFL. This is the first ever NFL game that's being broadcast live on Twitter. People are saying, when's the bubble going to burst over here? It's not, and it's exactly the same with the Premier League. This is here to stay, and the rich are only going to get richer.
Well, because people are hungry for watching sport pretty much around the clock, and if you can give them something that they want to watch and see, they'll watch it whenever it is. Were you at Anfield looking after Mr. Nicol with your new book? Because we weren't supposed to be getting you on with this book, were we?
I know, and I was babysitting Mr. Nicol, and he just behaved. He was in the boardroom, I was in the Legends Lounge, so we were separated for a few hours. But no, it was really good, and it was great for Stevie as well, because it was the first game with the new stand as well. And they invited a lot of legends back, so I think there was 20 that were on the pitch before the game as well. And it was the first time Stevie had seen Marina Dalglish as well, Kenny's wife, for about 20 years, because when they had the testimonial for Marina's cancer charity in 2006, he didn't get a proper chance to see her. So it was a case of all our yesterdays for Stevie, and he certainly enjoyed himself.
Good stuff. Right. So, I mean, I'm talking about Liverpool. I mean, they look very, very good, and Leicester didn't look very good at all, but then they look better in Europe. But big game tonight down at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea-Liverpool. Do you think Liverpool could turn them over?
I do, yeah. I'm not sure they will. There's two Liverpools, and I saw it firsthand last week, and I've seen it on TV as well. We saw them against Burnley, you saw them against Arsenal. One Liverpool's in one half of the field, and the other Liverpool's in the other half of the field. Basically, they'll score goals for fun. There'll not be any 0-0 draws, and if there are, it'll be because the chances have been created and not missed. Defensively, they're a mess, and it means for the neutrals, they're great to watch. Because they're going to concede, but they're going to score a plenty. And it's not until you see them actually up close, you see how quick the likes of Sadio Mane is. I mean, I remember going to watch rugby union in Australia when I went on holiday there, and you see the Super 12s and the likes. Up close, it's just so quick, and it's the same in the Premier League. The quickest players in the Premier League, they are absolutely rapid up close.
Indeed. Now, Mark, glance towards your home country, please, Scotland, and in particular... I am telling you... Brendan Rodgers. I mean, look, I'm afraid to have to say this, but he's coming for a bit of stick, and, you know, people...
Especially from you.
Yeah, satirists and people having a bit of fun about the, you know, there is no embarrassment in losing 7-0. People think there is a bit of embarrassment in losing 7-0. How's it viewed from where you are?
Well, over here, Barcelona, people think, wow, they lost at home to Deportivo Alaves, and not many people thought that was going to happen, but obviously they made a lot of changes. But how about this for a statistic? Under Luis Enrique, 16 times they've won by 6 goals or more. Right. So I think that puts it into context a little bit. We spoke earlier about the tiers in European football, how Bayern and Barca and Real Madrid are the top. They would have done that to a lot. I think you let this go. Anything you get from Barcelona. Celtic have beaten them in the past at Celtic Park. They drew 0-0 there as well. If Celtic finish third in that group, it's an achievement. That's what they're going to try and do, because it's Borussia Mönchengladbach against Celtic for third spot. Barcelona, Manchester City, forget about it. They're going to finish in the top two. And a 7-0 defeat, Celtic won't be the first, and they'll not be the last.
Well, that's true. Were the bars all over America, though, packed out with Celtic fans watching that game? There must have been, because you've got a huge fan base over there, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, the issue you've got at this time of year was obviously there's a lot of Liverpool fans here. They've not played in Europe this year. But there were a lot of Celtic fans in New York and a lot of Celtic fans in Boston watching this. But the other thing is as well, you've got to think about and Mr. Graham will know about this as well, with regards to football in this country, it's kind of taken off over the last 5 years. And obviously a lot of neutral Americans have got their MLS team, they've got their English team because they watch them on a Saturday, but they've got their kind of European team as well. And they get Barcelona every week, and they get Real Madrid every week as well. So they pick them for the likes of Messi, for Neymar and Suarez, who, by the way, are probably the best three, the front three ever together. So there were a lot of Barcelona fans in bars as well. And I say fans loosely. I mean, it's like anything. If you go abroad and you've been on your travels with the Two Mikes show as well, wherever you go, there's a lot of neutrality and fans that just watch matches because, as you said earlier, Mike, Yeah, I'm watching NFL today.
Sure.
I'm going to be watching Chelsea-Liverpool tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's games on Saturday. There's games on Sunday. It's what we do. It's just enjoyable. So, yes, plenty Celtic fans, but a lot of other fans watching it too.
Sure.
It's non-stop. What do you think of? What do you make of the Mourinho sort of reign at Old Trafford so far? I mean, it's not going particularly well. I mean, we could say that he's been in this situation before, but you know, he's lashing out the players again on the back pages this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's disharmony or disquiet. I'm not sure. Zlatan's obviously started well. What does he want? Does he want to do well in the Europa League? Because if he does, then that was a strange decision.
Yeah, he says he does.
It's a strange decision to leave out Rooney. It's a strange decision to leave out Valencia and Luke Shaw. I spoke today with Paul Mariner. We did a piece on Henrik Mkhitaryan as well. He started wide right in the only game that he started. He's a number 10. He had 23 goals and 26 assists for Dortmund last season, playing in behind the striker. Who's occupying that spot this season? Well, it's Wayne Rooney. So is there a way of finding a place for Rooney, for Ibrahimovic, and for Mkhitaryan in the same side? Because by all accounts, he's not too happy when he gets the opportunity to play wide right in a position that he's not particularly fond of.
You wonder really whether, you know, a lot of the fans who some of them have been on TalkSport already after the game tonight, saying, you know, these are the ones that didn't want Mourinho, saying, oh, we don't like the way they're playing already. I mean, after 4 games in the Premier League, you know, it's a bit rich, isn't it?
Of course it is, but look at the world we live in now with social media. I mean, my team Hearts, they wanted the manager sacked after 2 games, and they went out to Maltese side. They're now second in the league, and now those who made a noise they're the quiet ones. It's the minority that make a noise that are the ones that are heard most, and that's the issue. If Manchester United win at Watford at the weekend and then have a good run of form, and then I think they've got Leicester coming up at Old Trafford, and if they beat them, then those that are complaining and phoning TalkSport over the last 24 hours, they'll be the ones that will not be picking up the phone and calling until something's wrong. Unfortunately, it's the negativity world that we live in right now, and it's very difficult to make it to change.
Absolutely right. Well, listen, Mark, we're out of time, unfortunately. We'll have to get you back on and talk a bit more about Edinburgh and our visit up there.
Indeed.
And also talk a bit more about the book with Steve Nicol as well.
Indeed.
But thank you very much indeed. Mark Donaldson from ESPN. This is TalkSport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There was a bit of a delay with the podcast yesterday, which was finally sorted out, luckily by the afternoon. So apologies for that.
But you were out swigging champagne.
Not
when
at
that
all.
was
No,
going on, weren't
actually,
you?
no, I wasn't. No, I was not out swigging champagne.
You put out a picture of
champagne.
champagne.
I met my daughter at 4:00 in the afternoon, by which time the podcast had already been delivered and distributed. But no, in the morning I was getting my tyre fixed.
Yeah, tyre fixed.
Which you haven't asked me about at all because you have no interest in anything that doesn't involve you.
If you really believe that the audience are that interested in a flat tyre, then tell us all about it, please.
Well, I mean, we've listened to your rantings and ravings about your tyre problems for months and months and months.
Yeah, but that's on a slick, fastback, 2-door, top of the range, 3.5 litre, brand new, metallic painted Mercedes.
Ferrari.
I was going to say Ferrari.
Yeah,
Then,
you
Mercedes.
wish.
Mercedes, yeah.
Well, it's not brand new anymore, is it?
It's new. It's newish.
Newish, yeah.
Anyway,
thanks for your concern. I managed to get my my tyre fixed up.
So tell us how it went.
Well, fortunately, it was. It turned out that it was just a nail that had somehow got into the tyre.
Yes.
And so the guy turned up and he said, "I'll tell you what." He said, "I can see the nail." He said, "Why don't you just turn the wheel for me?" So I started the engine, turned the wheel.
Excellent.
And he said, "I don't even have to jack it up." And all he did was he pulled the thing out.
Yes.
Stuffed something inside the tyre and sealed it with that sort of blue stuff that they seal it with.
What do they stuff in the tyre? Like foam?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
You know, years ago...
Well, they sort of plug the hole, basically.
You know, years ago, when houses still had 2 skins of bricks, the guy used to come along and drill through the first skin of brick and then pump all this foam in.
Yes.
And that was...
that was like insulation.
Insulation, that's right.
But they don't do that anymore, then?
No, they don't do it anymore.
Right.
Because the second skin of bricks is now a breeze block and they're pervious. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
so I don't know. I'm not sure if it was foam, but he sort of shoved this blue stuff in and then he kind of sealed it and he said that'll be solid.
I'm not sure about this.
He said, funnily enough, he said in Britain, it's called a temporary repair.
Right.
He said, but in Germany, it's called a permanent repair.
Right.
And the guy said to me, so that's good enough for me. He said, but by law in this country, you have to regard it as a temporary repair and you have to advise the driver that they should go and get the tyre replaced.
So is that what you're going to do?
Well, I probably will anyway, because, I mean, the tread's going to go on it, probably in the next couple of months.
Now, you see, this is interesting, because you see, the Germans, they drive it up to 160, 170 miles an hour on their Autobahns.
On the Autobahns,
And they believe that that's a permanent repair. Because if you get a blowout at that speed... you're in real trouble.
Sure.
And people say, well, it's only a flat tyre, but if you're going at that speed and your tyre blows out, you're dead, basically,
Pretty
because
much.
you'd be all over the road.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And that'd be it. But if they regard it as permanent, that's fine. However, I've often found during the course of my life that things that are done in Germany are sometimes done more efficiently than things that are done in Britain.
Well, it's interesting that the law's different as well.
Yeah, it is interesting.
That they're allowed to do that and call it a permanent repair.
So I find it odd because I've had a bit of trouble with tyres over the last couple of years.
Well, I was having a conversation with this guy, and I said it seems to me that it's worse now. I mean, I've had more punctures over the last 4 years than I've ever had.
I have as well.
So there must be more debris.
I never had any punctures.
No.
In the last 3 years, I've had 6 occasions to go to Quick Fit and get the tyre replaced.
I've had about 4 flat tyres on this car in the past 2 years.
I know, and I never used to get them. You're absolutely right. But what they did with my chap at Quick Fit, right? They'll think quicker than a Quick Fit.
This is the guy who didn't spot the fact that there was a massive great nail inside the tyre.
Well, that's what the Mercedes dealer told me when I finally took it there, because he told me that there was an imbalance in the computer, and the computer was showing wrong pressures. But when it got to the computer dealer, they did X-ray it and said there's a 6-inch nail in it. Right. But anyway, that's another story. But the point is, when there's a clear hole, he takes the tyre off. Yeah. But then when he's found the hole, what he does is he pushes a plug through the hole from inside the tyre to the outside. Do you understand? Yeah. So you've got this thick band of rubber coming through.
This is having taken it off the wheel, then.
Having taken it off the wheel, absolutely right. Yeah. But he then heats it and spreads it, so it plugs the hole. Yeah. But it's from the inside. Yes. Do you see what I mean?
Well, this guy just did it from the outside.
Yeah, but I find that a bit odd.
And then he just pumped the thing up.
Yeah, okay. Well, it looks all right.
And said it was fine. So
it looks all right.
I think hopefully it will last for long enough. I've got to get it MOT'd this week. So if it needs new tyres in the next month or so, I'll get some.
Yes.
I wanted to point something else out to you, because a couple of people have been picking up on your Tiger bread thing. Stephen says, you have never heard of Tiger bread? Testosterone, Asda, Morrison's and even Warburton's make it. It's gorgeous, especially toasted.
Exactly.
He says.
Exactly.
But somebody else said to me...
Nobody's picking me up. They're picking you up for not knowing.
No, they are. But, I mean, honestly, I've never come across it. Maybe it's just because I've never seen it anywhere, because I don't buy bread that often in supermarkets.
Yes.
But I've also been recommended to read a story which is from a couple of years ago, where Sainsbury's renamed their Tiger bread, apparently giraffe bread.
Giraffe bread?
Yeah.
Why?
Because a little girl, a 3-year-old girl, wrote to the company saying that she thought it looked more like a giraffe. And actually it does, because if you look at the top of it, it looks more like a giraffe's sort of hide, doesn't it?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And apparently she received a letter back from Sainsbury's saying it was a brilliant idea, and it went viral on all sorts of social media.
Yes.
Her name was Lily Robinson, aged 3.5.
Oh, lovely.
And here's what Chris King from Sainsbury's customer service team said. I think renaming Tiger bread giraffe bread is a brilliant idea.
That's
it
great.
looks much more like the blotches on a giraffe than the stripes on a tiger.
And also, it would appeal to children because they like giraffes. They think they're nice and you can pat them and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Can you pat a giraffe?
Yeah, of course you can.
When have you patted a giraffe?
I have never personally patted one, but I've seen pictures of giraffes with their long necks, right? Yeah. Putting their heads through the window of a house and nibbling food off the table and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Where have you seen those pictures?
See it all the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I've been in the Kruger National Park.
Yeah, no, I know
mate,
you have.
And
when did they put their heads through somebody's house?
Oh, they do.
Window.
They do it regularly.
I don't believe that.
They do. They're very domesticated. That's the point. They're a very
They're
domesticated
wild
animal.
in the veldt, aren't they?
Yeah, they're wild in the veldt, but I mean they
domesticated giraffe.
No, they have no fear of humans. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah,
well, that's not good.
And they often, you sometimes see people in the sort of picnic area of the great parks in Africa, and the old giraffe comes along, and of course you're not aware of it because it's got such a long neck. You're sitting there, and all of a sudden the giraffe's head comes over your head, and boom, they've
nicked your ham sandwich.
They've nicked your fairy cake and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Just to continue with Mr. Chris King from Sainsbury's, not to show that he's not entirely a generous man.
Yes.
Guess what he sent her as a reward?
What?
The young girl.
What?
A £3 gift card.
Oh, is that all? That's not good, is it?
It's not very good.
Now listen, talking about bread, and of course, to digest bread, you have to eat it with your teeth, don't you?
What?
Well, anything you put in your mouth, you eat with your teeth.
Well, you chew, yeah.
Yeah, you chew, that's right, yeah. Now, the reason I ask you that is because, obviously, I'm quite interested in dental stuff at the moment, having 2 great metal sort of plugs in my mouth.
Yes.
Awaiting the...
Oh, yeah, the sort of stage 2.
Yeah, that's right, awaiting the ceramic teeth that are going to be fitted to them when it's ready.
Yes.
Which isn't going to be till November.
So they have to have those, made, so they look exactly like all your other teeth.
Absolutely, yeah. That's right. They're
custom-made teeth.
Being made as I speak, Yeah. That's $6,000 worth of dental treatment, that, Anyway, the point I'm going to say is, so I'm keeping an eye on dental things. Now, I've come across a survey, and you won't believe this. It says that if your teeth aren't straight, then you don't walk straight.
What?
And you don't walk straight.
Really?
Yeah. And you could, in fact, be mistaken for being inebriated, bladderated. No,
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've spotted. Well, I've never spotted somebody
Yeah.
necessarily not walking straight, having terribly unstraight teeth.
No, you haven't got straight teeth. You can be staggering around all over the place. It says here, people with overbites
Yeah.
or underbites.
Yeah.
So you know what that is, don't you?
Yes.
It's like an overbite.
An overbite is sort of goofy, yeah.
An overbite is like, what was the name of the kid in the Bash Street Kids?
Oh, I don't know.
He was called Goofy, I think,
Was
wasn't
he?
he? You would know Goofy, and they're always kids with goofy teeth. They're always portrayed as being thickos.
But
aren't they?
but you see, they don't
They're
really.
goofy.
You don't see that quite so much now because people
Yeah.
now. I mean, many adults, in fact,
Yeah.
wear braces.
Braces, yeah.
And
Well, this
so
is the very
they,
point.
to correct that.
So people with overbites
Yeah.
or underbites. Now, what's an underbite?
Underbite is kind of like sort of proboscis type thing.
So that means the overbiter is the chinless wonder,
Yeah.
but the underbiter is the big chin.
Yeah, you don't really see that much
We
anymore.
don't even
either.
see that much, anyway. Anyway, it says known to dentists and orthodontists under the general heading of malocclusions. That's what they're called. Okay?
Malocclusions, okay.
Malocclusions, yeah. Are less steady on their feet. These people are less steady on the feet. The theory is that a bad bite
Yeah.
may affect the whole body, has been tested. Spanish researchers, in a paper in the journal,
Yeah.
this is the one I read,
Right.
Neuroscience Letters, says a remarkable finding of the study was that dental occlusion
Yeah.
significantly influences the balance and control of the people concerned. Having a bad bite means worse balance,
Right.
particularly when the subjects were tired.
So you're not talking about not necessarily straight teeth as such in a line. It's more kind of not aligned sort of vertically. if you
It's
like.
out of
Yes.
it's unaligned
Yeah,
teeth.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
Now the researchers said the link between the bad bite and the bad posture was not obvious to people in everyday everyday situations.
Yeah.
But comes into play with conditions that worsen the body's stability, such as, and the word comes back again, obesity.
Oh, really?
So if you're fat
Yeah.
and you've
And
got
goofy.
goofy teeth, right, you're going to be mistaken for being an artist of the inebriation
Yes,
kind.
indeed.
A lot of the time.
Goodness.
It also has an effect on athletes. It plays a key role in how well they perform and makes them more likely to get strains when they become more tired if they've got goofy teeth.
But how does that work if they then get straightened? I mean, surely you can't change your entire bodily function just because your teeth get straightened artificially.
Well, I'm about to tell you.
Right.
I'm about to tell you, right? Now, the solution is that they believe it's the main nerve that's responsible for chewing, which is the trigeminal.
Okay.
Okay, the
Is that in
trigeminal
jaw
nerve.
somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose so. And that's closely linked to the vestibular nucleus.
Of course it is.
Which is the part of the brain responsible for balance control. So the vestibular nucleus controls not only the mastication.
I thought your ears controlled your balance.
No. Well, the inside of your ears does, but this affects your balance. It
Yeah.
doesn't control it.
Right.
It affects your balance, right? So the old vestibular nucleus, right, in the brain is responsible not only for neck and jaw muscles, but balance as well,
Yeah.
linked to the
Blimey.
hammer in the middle of your head.
Right.
So
The hammer in the middle of your head.
Well, the hammer that goes down your
You
ear.
mean in your inner ear.
In your
Right.
inner ear, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway...
It's not really a hammer, though, is it?
Now,
I
the
mean-
lead researcher of this report is a lady called Sonia Julia Sanchez. Okay? What are you laughing
Sanchez
at?
is
Yeah.
Spanish, isn't it?
Yeah, Sanchez.
You say
yeah.
the French accent.
Sonia Julia Sanchez.
Sanchez.
Sanchez. She, yeah. Well, I know what you're laughing at. Sanchez. That's
See the time, by the way.
and she says
Right.
it would be helpful for both the general population and athletes to consider correcting dental occlusions
Yeah.
to improve their postural control
Okay.
and thus prevent possible falls and instability
Okay.
due to a lack of motor system response. So now you know.
Well, here you go. Look, Brian says this. The chap with teeth in the Bash Street Kids was called Plug.
Plug.
And
That's
Thomas,
it, yeah.
Thomas says, "Well, Porky, if that's true about teeth, Shane McGowan looks drunk all the time. Yeah. I think that's because he is drunk all the
Yeah,
time.
I think he
isn't it?
is, yeah.
From the
Absolutely,
pogues.
yeah.
Absolutely.
He was Plug as well. And he used to wear a flat cap as well for someone.
I don't really remember the Bash Street Kids
I
very
do,
well.
yeah, I do, yeah.
Anyway, we've got lots more to talk about,
Okay.
including Alaska. We've got a guest coming on very shortly
Excellent.
to try and tell Porky, maybe, that he can buy some property over there and have it as a summer home or a winter home or something like that.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Great.
Hey! The sun goes down like a bad, bad dream. You end up tight, gotta let off steam. They say they can break you again and again. If life is a radio, turn up to 10. Some crazy, crazy,
are the two, Mike. There's some great tweets here.
Yeah.
One from Nick, who says Cristiano Ronaldo had buckled teeth. I think he means buck teeth when he started at Manchester United. Ha ha. Stephen says, what the hell is Porky going on about? And Alex says, goofy teeth means you can't walk straight. Does Porky believe every load of dribble he reads? Luis Suarez seems okay. What a plank.
Well,
and he does, doesn't he? I mean, Suarez does have quite an overbite, and there's nothing wrong with the way he plays football.
No, that's true. But I mean, when you're moving his speed, I suppose that you're in control of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
I'm talking about, obese people, fat people with goofy teeth, right, are a liability on the pavement.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Well, I suppose you might say that, but you don't see people like that very often, to be fair.
Well, no.
Now, a question for you from yesterday's show.
Oh, yes.
What about your debit card debacle? What happened with that? Because if we weren't listening last night, Porky got contacted in the middle of the show last night by his bank to say that somebody was trying to spend his money in New York, which was incredible.
Indeed. Let me tell you how that worked out.
Yeah.
Just before I do, there's a great communication here from Gift Gaff Network.
Oh, yeah.
And they show a picture of a screw, right? And they say, has Porky got an alibi? He's always screwing around.
That's the picture of the screw that I put out. That was the screw that was in my tyre.
The cause of last night's puncture. What? That was the actual screw?
Yeah, did you not see that tweet that you see, I mean, you don't pay any attention to any of my tweets, do you?
Well, not always. Yeah,
Why not?
That's great, yeah.
That was the screw that was in my tyre.
Oh, I see. So I think what Gift Gaff is suggesting here is maybe I want to put it in your tyre.
Yeah, well, I think that's what a lot of people would suspect.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, because we have evidence of your prior interference with my car, sticking notes on the windscreen.
Yeah, but that's when it's parked outside TalkSport Towers.
Well, yeah, but
I wouldn't go over to your hovel and interfere with your car.
But you could have put, because I tell you what, when I left last night to come in, it was a much slower. It was quite a slow puncture, so it wasn't completely flat. But when I got back this morning, it was completely flat.
Yes.
So you could have put the tyre. You could have put the nail in the tyre when I was leaving here. 2 nights ago, and by the next night it would have been flat.
That's a terrible thing to say. Now, what question did you ask me there?
Well, I was asking about your debit card.
Oh yeah,
scenario.
debit card. Yeah. So what happens is, in the middle of last night's show, I suddenly, the phone goes beep beep, rapidly twice, and so that's 2 communications in the form of a text.
Yes.
And these texts come from. It said the bank that I used.
The fraud unit.
The fraud unit. Yeah, and it said, "Have you been shopping in New York in the last hour?"
Yeah,
because somebody's tried to buy this for, I think it was 68 quid.
Yeah,
and somebody's been trying to.
And it was two different shops, quite far away from each other in a very short space of time.
Yeah,
so,
it was. Yeah.
I mean, does that suggest to you there was more than one card being used? Maybe.
I've no idea, but I really don't know the answer to that. Anyway. It's very efficient, this, and I have to say the banking system in this country, I think, is very well run.
Yeah.
The
fraud people are very good, actually. They are very hot.
They're very good. So anyway, what I had to do immediately was to send back one of 2 replies. Why, if I know that this card is being used and it's authorised and happy with it, or N if I don't. So I immediately send back N. So within seconds of me sending back N, they come back and say the card's been cancelled, urgently ring this number. So then I went out of the show, if you remember, for a couple of minutes, rang this number, and they said, right, we have to identify that you are who you say you are, and they wanted me to name 4 direct debits on the account of the card that's been used. The card that had been scammed was a debit card, not a credit card.
Yes.
Right? So it's my bank account, which is very worrying because that could lead to other bank accounts
and
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
did they give you any clue as to how this had happened?
Well, I'll come on to that in a second because I then said, look, I haven't got that information at hand. And I said, and I'm a broadcaster, I'm in the middle of a show. Can this wait till tomorrow? And they said, yes, as long as you realise that will delay the replacement of your card. I said, well, that's just hard luck,
Yeah.
So anyway, funny enough, this morning I found a paper copy of my monthly bank statement, right? And I got back onto them, and they sorted it within 5 minutes. They said, OK, you're clearly who you are. And they asked me other strange questions, like, for instance, where were you born?
Yeah.
And what was the strange...
Well, presumably you've got some kind of, sort of password as well that they ask you if you're talking to them.
Well, they used to ask, what was your mother's
maiden name?
They didn't ask me that. They asked me other weird...
What was the name of your pet or something like that?
Yeah, they asked me other weird ones, like, for instance... Oh, yeah.
You might not want to give all this away, of course.
Well, no. But I think it was... when was the last time you drew any money on this card, and where was it?
Yes, well, that's fair enough.
Yeah, and
because only you would know that.
Only I would know that. Funny enough, it was going home a couple of nights ago. I realised petrol was low.
Oh, yeah.
So I stopped, and just as I'd paid for the petrol, there was a cash machine right next to the kiosk. And I thought, well, why not? Get the cash while I'm there.
Yeah.
So I remembered that one very easily.
Yeah.
After all of that, they said, that's fine. Mr. Parry, don't worry. Throw that card away. You'll have a new one in 3 days.
Yeah.
And I said, that's great. And they also said, if this puts you into difficulties with drawing cash, go to your bank and they will have something on their computer to explain they can hand you cash. You know? So it's good.
No, it's good, yeah. Well, do you remember, because when I had that problem with the guy stealing my mail, I used to have to get things, when they then were going to send a new card out, I said, well, don't send it to my flat, because obviously if the guy's still stealing the stuff, he'll steal that one as well. So I had to send it to the bank.
Indeed.
And I had to go and pick it up there. But,
Yes.
well, I'm glad that... But it'd just be interesting to know whether somebody had actually manufactured a card or whether they were just trying to...
Well...
Because quite often they just use it for, like telephone shopping or something like that.
The best thing was, they said, neither of these purchases succeeded.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, why? And they said, he said it didn't add up. You know, when the guy tried to use it, whoever the shopkeeper was, they didn't add up, and they don't know what happened. They don't know whether the guy fled or anything. They just said neither of the purchases were accepted.
Right.
But you've told me that they're a bit backward in their banking in
Well,
America
they are.
compared to this country.
They're only just getting chip and pin there now.
That's amazing.
And we've had it for, what, 4 or 5 years?
I couldn't believe,
And they haven't got contactless at all.
They haven't got contacts at
No.
all.
Well, they didn't last time I was there anyway.
No. I was amazed that as the 80s went into the 90s and mobile phones started emerging around the world, I was astonished at how backward the Americans were with their cell phones compared to ours.
Oh, they were, yeah.
I used to go over there and think, what? And they were still walking around with bricks in their pockets,
I know.
compared to
and
our
those
slim
flip
lines.
phones and things.
That's right,
I mean, they're pretty much caught up now.
Yeah.
But let's go back to something we talked about the other day.
Okay.
Somebody's also sent me this. This has come in from somebody called John. A woman claiming that she was saved by her flip-flops after being struck by a bolt of lightning.
No, I saw that. Yeah, where did that happen?
It happened in South Wales, a place called North Cornelly.
North
I'm not
Cornelly.
sure where that is. A woman called Jodie Green,
hello,
35,
boyo.
was hit as she gathered in washing from a metal rotary dryer.
Yes.
Was
She
a
was hit
metal
by
rot-
what?
She was struck by lightning. Does that mean that this is a metal rotary dryer outside?
Must have been.
Why would you have a metal rotary dryer outside?
Well, a metal rotary dryer is not a machine. It's a washing line.
Oh, is it?
It's a square washing line.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I mean?
Oh, one of those things that goes out like an umbrella upside down.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it was like a dryer, like a drying machine.
No.
Anyway, she says the flip-flop saved me is the best £5 I've ever spent.
Yes.
She said she felt drunk and her hair stood on end.
Good God. Oh, yeah, I've seen this now, yeah. That's right. And it says also... bolt of lightning. You're absolutely right. Yeah, crikey, 35 years of age as well.
I know.
That's no age, is it, to get struck by lightning?
Well, no age is good to be struck by lightning.
I suppose
really.
you're right. Yeah.
Now, lots more to come. We're almost out of time for this first half, the second half
Yes.
hour, because we're going to talk about Alaska. Now, you might remember yesterday that you'd seen some. It was part of Porky Vision, I think, wasn't it?
Yes.
That you'd seen this amazing program about Alaska.
Yeah.
And about
Fantastic programme.
sort of wildlife
Fantastic.
and all that. Do you know that we have gone searched high and low for somebody, and we found somebody called Tanya Carlson.
Brilliant.
Who is the Director of Marketing and Travel Trade Relations.
Excellent.
With the Alaska Travel Industry.
Excellent.
Association.
What's the capital of Alaska? It's
Is it June? Not June. It's Anchorage.
Anchorage is one. Yeah, and
I was going to say Juneau's the other two.
no, because one time a mate of mine who flew to Japan went via Anchorage.
Yes.
And came back and told me what a wonderful place it was. You know, he was only there for a few hours. But I mean, that's,
Yeah, I've never been there.
no,
I mean, you see, one of the things that looks great, and if you were ever into doing a cruise anyway.
Oh, I totally agree.
Doing a cruise through Alaska looks fantastic.
And the it's like cruising through the Norwegian fjords. I'm told, huge like mountains of ice. On the straight down into the water and all that kind of stuff. So
Very
that's
beautiful
great.
place.
And are we talking to this lady from Alaska next?
We are.
I'm
indeed.
very pleased about that.
So she'll be able to give you as much information, because I'm going to say to her, because maybe you could expand your property portfolio and buy like a log cabin up there or something.
I bet you it's quite cheap.
It might be.
I bet you it's quite cheap.
Well,
you
we'll
know.
ask her.
The only thing about that is I don't believe in keeping property that you're going to use a million miles away.
Why not?
It takes too long to get there, and
I suppose you have to keep it maintained and all that sort of thing.
That wouldn't be a problem, because I'm sure that
You might get there and find that it's been inhabited by a family of polar bears.
Well, no, you see, I don't think it would be a problem, because if you did, it would be on a location that was controlled and maintained and all that kind of stuff.
Gated community.
Yeah, it would be very good indeed. It's just the getting there.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you own a second or third property, the pressure on you all the time is that you have to go and use it to justify it.
Yes.
And that's why you should be careful when you... I mean, a mate of mine, funny enough, had a villa in Portugal, and it was when he was a professional footballer earning big money.
And you'd have to feel like you had to go there all the time.
Well, his wife was always saying, look, shouldn't we? And he didn't want to go. But she said, well, what's the point of having it? So in the end, they sold it. Because there's always this pressure in the back of your mind. I suppose because we have an expensive villa in Portugal, we better go and use it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
And you don't want to keep going back to the same place.
Well, if you have other obligations, I mean...
Well, it's just nice to go to different places as well.
It's nice to go to different places, but the thing is, as we all grow older, you have different obligations. Like, for instance... instance, one of the reasons he sold it was that his mum and dad were getting older and they were suffering ill health and he wasn't going to see them enough at weekends.
Right.
So, it all came together. It's a question of priorities.
It is indeed. As indeed is most of life.
Well, in life...
I've seen the time, by the way.
In life, everybody should have what I live my life by this rule. Live your life by the rule. Get your hierarchy. Hierarchy.
Your priorities, right.
Get your hierarchy of priorities in the right order, and you won't go wrong.
And apparently Juneau is the capital of Alaska.
Juneau?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Anchorage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There we are. So you learn something every day here on the Two Mics.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Yep.
I dreamed of Alaska, so far away, and I dreamed I was flying over mountains and glaciers. Somehow I knew that I'd live there one day. Well, it took me.
You recognise that voice? I'm sure you do.
Is that the guy who died when his plane ran out of fuel?
Yes.
And his most famous song was
Rocky Mountain High.
It was a great song, that Rocky Mountain High, but also I covered an ocean like in the desert. Annie's song. That's Annie's song.
Yeah, John Denver.
John Denver.
Is his name.
He had glasses and he played guitar.
He did.
And he got into an aeroplane, flew off somewhere, it crashed into a mountain.
I think that was in Colorado.
That was the end of John Denver.
Yeah, it was. Very sad. Very sad story. But anyway, we're going to talk about Alaska because that song's about Alaska.
Great.
Not Colorado. Tanya Carlson is the Director of Marketing and Travel Trade Relations with the Alaska Travel Industry Association. Tanya, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. My co-host here, Mr. Parry, became fascinated by a documentary that he saw on the Discovery Channel, which was all about Alaska, and he became so enchanted with the place that he said, we must talk to somebody about it and find out, what it's like to live there, how easy it is to buy property there if you're not an American. Tell us about it.
Oh, goodness. It's you definitely picked the right place to dream about. It's such a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, Tanya, this documentary I saw, one of the fascinations of it was that they were concentrating on the part of Alaska which is inside the Arctic Circle. And they looked at the wildlife, and amazingly, apparently the Alaskan squirrel is the animal that hibernates for longer than any other animal on Earth for 8 months a year. And that the summer, the summer in that part of Alaska lasts just barely 4 months, and then it's back into the big freeze. Why do people even think about living in what is surely such a foreboding sort of territory?
Oh, goodness, but it's so gorgeous.
Yes.
The Arctic, even though people kind of associate it with the icy, cold tundra, always white kind of landscape, it's really not. It's really just one of the most gorgeous places in the summertime.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously there's parts of it which are not very heavily populated. Is it? I mean, is it easy to say build a house in some remote part of Alaska if you wanted to do that?
If you really wanted to, a vast majority of Alaska is considered public land, so federal or state property. So it's open to the public, but you do have to apply for a permit with one of the two entities if you want to homestead and try to build a house out there.
Right.
How do people earn a living for the 8 months of the year, Tanya, when everything's frozen? They said that the lakes froze. I didn't realise, by the way, there are 3 million lakes in Alaska.
Is that right?
3 million.
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible. So if it's all frozen and the boats are frozen in the harbour and all that, what do these guys do for 8 months when, and people live in literally a frozen country for 8 months?
Oh, sure. For the folks that live way out in the tundra and away from most of civilization, a lot of them are hunters and trappers by trade. So they're still out hunting, mink and marten and those types of animals and selling their pelts and living off the land very much. Okay,
so for some people in Alaska then, has life barely changed over the last 100 years?
Maybe in the isolated areas, maybe only a little, but we're very much up to today's standards in all of our cities.
Yes, exactly, in places like Anchorage and that sort of
and
thing.
Presumably tourism's quite a big business as well, because, I mean, we see adverts all the time here for cruise ships that go up there, which I presume go all the year round.
That must be spectacular, the cruise ship industry.
Absolutely, and I mean, you guys are one of our biggest markets.
Yes, of course, people come over here all the time.
Well, no, it's about us going over there.
Sorry, I meant that. Yeah, we
exactly.
go over there all the time. Yeah, I mean, is there any sense of being remote from the rest of the United States, Tanya, when you're in Alaska? Because I know you're very much American, but geographically, it's not connected to the rest of America. So, do Alaskans have a very, individual identity that they're proud of?
Oh, absolutely. I think most people who come to Alaska who weren't from here originally come up to kind of get away from everything that what we call the lower 48 has. We have all of the same technology and all of the same things, but we're very much removed from the rest of the United States.
Yeah. And to just go back to, I mean, I know you were saying about the public land and it's difficult to build things without getting proper permits and all of that, and without getting too political about immigration policy in America. Is it difficult for somebody, say, from this country who was not a US citizen to go and live there?
To just come up and live here, probably not too bad. I'm not all too familiar with it, but to go out and build something in the wilderness, it really takes a lot. You have to really want it to go out there and do that.
Right. I mean, like a log cabin. If you say wanted to come and I know that, I mean, we both worked in America in different parts of the continent, mostly New York, we're traveling around. But I mean, would you be able to say just come to Juneau, Alaska, and find yourself a place to rent maybe, and just decide to hang out there for a while and do some writing or something?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Well, Tanya, listen, thank you very much indeed. One of the most interesting things I saw in this documentary was that a bear that was hibernating through the 8 months of the freeze actually lived in a tree and gave birth to its cubs in the tree.
Oh, wow. I don't even think I've seen that one.
No, exactly, exactly, because the ground is so foreboding with its frozen ice.
You'd have to watch out for the bears.
You'd have to watch for bears falling out of trees, wouldn't you? Anyway, there we go.
There you are. Well, listen, Tanya, thank you very much indeed for helping us out with all that information. Tanya Carlson there, Director of Marketing and Travel Trade Relations with the Alaska Travel Industry Association.
Yes.
Sounds like a very nice woman.
She sounds like a very nice woman, but she frankly didn't sell Alaska to me.
She didn't?
No.
Well, how about this from William? He says, Alaska would be an ideal place for Porky, log cabin, huskies, shotgun and an axe to chop the wood for his log fire.
Yeah, well,
he could be like Grizzly Adams.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what I mean? I mean, when, I wanted to talk to somebody from Alaska who was actually going to say, tell me something I didn't know about Alaska, things like...
Well, I think some people are intimidated by your very sort of forceful manner.
Yeah, but that lady, I'm sure she's a very nice lady.
She is very nice.
But she's Director of Marketing and Travel Trade Relations for the Alaska travel industry.
Yeah.
But every question we asked her, she came back with a 3-word answer.
Well, maybe she doesn't want to sell it to you.
Well, why not? And, I wanted to hear something about, I said to her, what do these people do for 8 months of the froze? She could have told us some great anecdotes about people dig holes in the ground and live in them or something like that.
Yeah, but you can't just make stuff up if it's not true.
No, don't make it up.
She said people go out and shoot mink, basically.
Yeah, but I thought she might have just broadened out a little bit of my understanding of Alaska.
I don't think you should take it out on her.
No, I'm taking it out on her, but I mean, if I did her job, I'd have thought, right, I'm talking to a British radio station. These guys are great. They're our biggest market. I'm going to tell them that, by the way, for just $1,000, you could live for 4 months, in this cabin that floats on a lake.
Yeah. Well, that might not be true, though.
But the lake is frozen. Well, it's bound to be true.
Unfortunately, she is sort of guided and concerned about not telling porkies and making people think.
I told her, didn't I? I told her a fact she didn't even know herself.
What about the squirrel?
No, 3 million lakes in Alaska. Yeah. I mean, just think about that.
She knew that.
Just think about that.
She knew that. It's a very big area.
How can you get 3 million lakes into any area of land? It's incredible.
Well, it's a very big area.
How many lakes are there in the Lake District?
In the Lake District, I would say probably about 25.
I would agree with you. I would say no more, about 20, 25, right?
Yeah.
So multiply that by how many times 25 goes into 3 million.
Quite a lot.
And that's the number of lakes and the size of the land in Alaska. It's huge.
It is. Well, it's a massive continent.
Well, Alaska itself is, I think, 2/3 the size of the rest of America, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very, very large, isn't
massive,
it?
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. Well, I mean, so you don't fancy going there. Now, here's one from, let's see, who's this from? Steve.
Yeah.
He says, I know how the fraudster was rumbled. He was trying to purchase a Liam Gallagher autobiography and some bicycle clips.
Hey?
That was in New York.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. Well, it could well have been.
And Andy says, Porky, would you lease Necker like Sir Richard if it was yours? I would rather keep the great unwashed outs. Well, this is another question altogether.
To be honest, I don't think you can stay there much these days because I think he spends most of his time there now.
Well, they had that fire there as well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that would burn the place down, but it's been rebuilt. But no, what I was going to say is, on Necker, there's the main house. And for many, many years, when is it Sir Richard? I can't remember.
Sir Richard Branson, I think it is.
Sir Richard, was building his worldwide empire.
Yes.
He would only go there like for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So he would book the 2 weeks like any other holidaymaker would. You see what I mean? Except that he owned it, obviously. But I understand he spends most of his time there these days. Although I do know that apart from the main house, there are a number of other places.
Outbuildings.
Well, they're not outbuildings. They're like round the back of the island, where there's a water skiing resort. There's a load of beach huts and things.
Yeah.
And I think they've been developed, and I think they now are where sort of holidaymakers go. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. Somebody has found Tanya on the internet. That's her.
What a lovely lady.
Stephen has just sent that to us.
And that's a picture of her in Alaska. You can tell from the backdrop, can't you?
You can indeed, yeah.
But not when it's frozen. You know what I mean?
Stephen describes her as a bit of all right.
Well, I'm not going to get into that sexist sort of language.
No,
I mean,
I wouldn't if I were you.
All we would say is that I found she could have been a little bit more communicative.
Well, I think you can stop attacking her now.
I'm not attacking her.
It's absolutely shocking the way you are behaving today.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful.
It says here, how come Suarez can play football with his gnashers? Says Ian. Give your head a wobble, Porky.
Apparently you can fit 14 and a half Alaskas in the whole of America. How about that?
14 and a half?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that good?
Well, after Alaska, there's 49 other states, right?
Yeah.
Including Hawaii.
Yes.
That's
which
why.
is
So that's why
the mainland.
She referred to the 48.
Yes.
So the 48. So and you can fit into 19. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Trying to work out the square mileage of it all, but I
Well,
can't.
I wouldn't try.
It's too vast.
I mean, you're the same person that thought that Surrey was 1 million square miles.
Well, you
so
know.
I wouldn't try working that one out.
Sort of close, you know.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, we've got loads more coming up. We're going to predict some football scores in the next hour. Also, the Porky quiz is coming up on the Clintons as well. This is Talk Sport. Steve says, believe me, we're all disappointed that lovely lady didn't sell Alaska to Porky. Oh, well, MG, back to the drawing board. As if I was actually trying to get you removed from the country. That wasn't my plan. I just
get rid of me.
You might like to have a sort of holiday home there, but obviously not.
Yeah. I mean,
why are we playing T-Rex then?
I'll tell you in a sec. And I'm just trying to work out what time it is in Alaska. So it's 3.
Well, are they on Pacific time?
Well, it must be. So it's 8 back, isn't it?
It's 8 back,
Yeah, so it's...
but mind you, maybe they span a couple of different time zones because of the way the curvature of the Earth goes.
Yeah, but not only that, they're halfway to Hawaii time zone-wise, aren't they?
Well, not really.
They must be.
I don't think so.
Well, Hawaii is another 3,000 miles away from the American coast.
And several other time zones.
That's right, yeah, of course it is. Right, now then...
By the way, I was going to give you an update on the football, but I'll wait until
wait until that, yeah. Now, sadly, very, very sadly, it's a very sad anniversary. The reason we played that record is that because on this day, September the 16th, in 1977...
By the way, it says here it's 5:46 currently in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. 5:46. Yeah, well, there you go. So that's 9. They're 9 now. So they're 1 hour beyond California. Yeah. So very sadly, on this day in 1977, Mark Bolan was killed in the car crash when his girlfriend drove the Mini he was a passenger in into a tree in Barnes.
Right. I remember that.
In southwest London. Yeah. And to this day, if you drive
How many years ago?
1977.
Wow.
So that's...
I remember when that happened, actually.
07 is 30. So...
Well, you just knock 1 off 40, don't you?
1 off...
39, isn't it?
No, 42, isn't it?
What?
77.
Yeah. Well, but it's 2017 next year.
Yes.
So you knock 1 off from 40,
so
it's 39.
39.
That's what I said. You don't have to go through this ridiculous rigmarole.
Okay, all right,
it's not 1 off 7
Okay,
to get
that's
6.
fine, yeah, okay. So 39 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and he was only 29 when he died,
very young.
which is no age. And to this day, I was going to say, if you drive past that tree in Barnes, there's always fresh flowers.
Really?
It's a memorial, you know, to
Barnes
Mark
has a strange sort of memory for me because when my sister was very young, well, not very young, but 17, she was out with 3 friends and they got into, they had a car crash in Barnes and her best friend was killed. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Terrible story.
So was the
and it was near there's a pub there, I think, called the Red. Is it the Red Lion or something like that?
Barnes is a strange place to explain to our listeners because although it's a London suburb, it is very rural, isn't it?
It can be, yeah,
there's
because
fields
there's sort of commons and things like
commons
that.
and fields.
But there's
and all
the
that
road
kind of
that sort of goes basically from south of Hammersmith Bridge down towards Richmond.
That's right.
It's that kind of road there.
Yeah, across Barnes.
They were all in the sixth form, and her best friend was killed, and she was very lucky to have not been injured at all.
Was one of them driving?
No, one of the boyfriends was driving.
Oh, I see. And how many were in the car?
4.
Oh, I see. So the boyfriend was driving.
So one of the boyfriends was driving. I think it might have been my sister's boyfriend who was driving at the time.
Yeah.
And the one girl was in the front and one girl was in the back.
Shocking.
It was awful. And I remember I was about. I don't know, 14 or something like that. And my parents suddenly got a phone call from the police, and it was sort of 11 o'clock on a Friday night.
Right.
And they had to go down there, and I was left there to sort of wonder what was going on.
Yeah, golly, that's terrible.
So Barnes has always had a bit of a sort of
when
a
your
strange
parents left
memory.
the house, did they know your sister was okay?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I see, yeah. So they weren't being summoned to hospital.
No, but it was all a bit
one passenger in the car's been killed, we don't know which one it is.
Well, exactly. But you know how these things are all very
absolutely,
sudden.
Yeah.
And, you suddenly just aren't sure what's going on.
That's right. But anyway, I loved old Mark Bolan, because when I was a teeny bopper, right,
I can't imagine you as a teeny bopper.
Yeah, I was.
Really.
Yeah, I was a teeny bopper, and the great song that I thought was his best one was Jeepster.
Jeepster was good.
I mean, that was a.
Ride a White Swan was the album, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but you see, the problem was the T-Rex group emerged from Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes,
and Tyrannosaurus Rex were a new age group, and he sung all these lovely melodies like Ride a White Swan.
And Mickey Finn was the drummer, wasn't he?
Well, Mickey. Yeah, I mean, fancy having a partner in the rock and roll business called Mickey Finn.
Yeah.
Which of course is the
his real name
for spiking people's drinks.
But I don't know if
that
was his real name. Was it?
No, it was. It was his real name. Yeah. But the strangest thing was, whilst Mark Bolan was clearly a very talented musician, he wrote all the records, he played all the guitars.
Oh, he was a musical genius.
Musical genius. Mickey Finn, he only played the congas.
The congas, yeah.
And the bongos.
The bongos.
Yeah, he played... The congas are the big, tall bongos.
Right.
And the bongos are the little ones. The smaller bongos, which you put between...
Well, were they not supposed to have had some kind of relationship as well?
Between your knees.
But they would also... Yeah, all right.
Just practising playing the bongos.
People are now going to be shouting at the radio.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Because that'll be making horrible noises in their headphones.
I don't think so. I think...
But were they not supposed to be lovers as well at one point?
Well, I don't know. No,
I think they were.
Were they?
Yeah,
something going on.
Well, it was all in that time of sort of bisexuality.
Yeah, it was actually.
Jagger and David Bowie and all that.
Because Mark Bolan, I mean, he used to have glitter on his face and eyeliner and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You know, it was. It's very much that. The Sweet were the same sort of people,
they were.
Weren't they? Yeah,
absolutely.
But anyway, what I was going to say is Jeepster was the great one. So what happened was we used to go to these Saturday night dances in village halls in Cheshire.
Oh, yeah.
And some entrepreneur, like, a budding young Peter Stringfellow or something.
This was sort of the preamble to the rave, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was, yeah. So some sort of young entrepreneur, Peter Stringfellow in the budding, would hire the village hall in somewhere like Waverley or somewhere like that, or there are all these strange... what was the other one? Mollington.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a place called Mollington.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, and the word would go round that, we're having a dance. And literally, it would be a corrugated iron hut.
Yeah.
But quite a big one.
Yeah.
And what the guys would do
would it be hard to get to? How would everybody get to it?
Well, this is a good question. It was the era of the scooter boys.
Oh, yeah.
So if you didn't have a scooter when you were sort of 17 or 18, you were nowhere.
Didn't you tell me a story once about some guy, mate of yours, that nicked a scooter?
Yeah, he did, yeah. He nicked a scooter, and it was a broken-down old scooter.
Yeah.
Well, he had a checkered history with his scooters, because the first one he got nicked off him, and he got the money for that, and then bought another one, but his got nicked, so only nicked somebody else's. People were always nicking scooters because everybody wanted one, you know what I mean? But the problem is, these scooter guys would drive in convoys of about 20, and with the beaming light on the front, it was quite, scintillating, a sort of, as they all arrived.
Well, they weren't mods, though, were they?
No, they weren't mods. The favourite attire was going to the Army and Navy stores and buying an ex-Army huge overcoat.
Oh, yeah.
Like an RAF sort of overcoat.
Yeah. Right.
And you put that on and wrap yourself up against the cold, driving your scooter, put your helmet on, and then you look like Darth Vader type thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they had 6 or 8 mirrors on the front, and that kind of stuff.
Well, that's quite modish, isn't it?
It is quite modish, but it wasn't the era of mods and rockers. That was 30 years before. But these guys would arrive, and they'd line up the scooters outside, and then they'd come in. And the girls would turn up. It was the era of the girls dressed in Crombie overcoats.
Oh, yeah.
Blue Crombie overcoats.
Okay.
Boots.
With short hair.
Short hair.
Yeah.
And they used
the old suede head thing.
That's right, the suede thing. And they would dance like they were rubber bands. I'm not joking. They would ping up and down on the dance floor, still in their overcoats.
Well, like pogoing.
Like pogoing,
right.
yeah, that kind of stuff. But the record they all loved was Jeepster by T-Rex, by Mark Bolan, jumping up and down, all that. And the booze was all supplied, literally, by a local pub.
Yeah.
Some guy at a local pub
So they bring a barrel of beer or something.
Yeah, that's right, a couple of barrels of beer and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, if you wanted a proper drink, you'd go down the local pub, which is only just down the hill. And for some unknown reason, this one night, I got onto, for the first time ever, what was it? Rum and black.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, that's rum and blackcurrant.
Rum and blackcurrant, yeah. Hideous drink.
Hideous.
Really
and
horrible.
I've never had one since because, no, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I've no idea how I got home. I think I walked in the middle of the street somewhere in some village. And
how far away from your house was it then?
12 miles.
Really?
Something like that.
Well, you walked 12 miles home?
No, I didn't. I waved some bloke down. I found out later. I stood in the middle of the road and waved him down. And he stopped and he took me to the police station.
Yeah.
Because he
Not
thought...
surprisingly.
Yeah, he thought
you were some kind of vagrant.
Well, he thought I was so far gone and so ill. I might be a danger to myself. So, I was sort of floating all over the place. And
You didn't get taken home in a police car?
No, because when I got to the police station, they didn't want to know, apparently. And, and then, I don't know what happened, he staggered off into the night or something like that. but those are the lasting memories.
Yes.
Yeah, but poor old Mark Bolan, who knows what he might have come,
Yeah, absolutely.
What have achieved.
I seem to remember I had a single of his. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Metal Guru or something like
Metal
that.
Guru, Telegram Sam.
Telegram Sam, that was it.
That's right,
that
Telegram
was the single
Sam.
I had.
Rider White Swan was the early stuff and all that. And then after he died, of course, it all fell apart, didn't it? The old glam rock and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Sad.
Now, I've got a story to tell you about,
Right.
which we might have to examine slightly further in the next hour.
Right, go on.
But it's on the front page of the Times this morning. Do you know who manufactures almost all of the CCTV cameras in this country?
If I had to guess, I would say it would be somewhere like Taiwan.
Yeah, well, it's China, believe it or not.
China.
So you're not far away.
No.
Apparently more than 1 million closed-circuit TV cameras and recorders have been manufactured in China and sold to places like airports, government buildings, sports stadiums and the London Underground.
Yeah.
And people are now saying they're a bit worried about this because it turns out that these cameras, because they're manufactured in China, could actually be hacked into by people in China who could then spy on all sorts of things that are going on in various parts of the country. Because they fear that MI6 are saying, basically, national security could be at risk because of the way that these things are manufactured.
Well, because the Chinese have made them.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying here is, the inference is that those cameras are surreptitiously sending pictures back to China.
Well, they could be.
As well as sending pictures to the people in England
who
have bought them and
if you
installed
imagine,
them.
because if you imagine manufacturing a camera, it wouldn't be very difficult to make sure that camera was also being watched back in the place where it was manufactured, in addition to where it was being watched in its place of sale.
That sounds very sinister.
Well,
to me.
especially if it's government buildings and it's airports and all the rest of it. MI6 are apparently very worried about it.
What have they got to gain, the Chinese, by just having a look at our cameras, which are covering Heathrow Airport?
Well, what intelligence is about. It's about knowledge, isn't it? And it's about being able to see what people are doing. I mean, if for example, imagine if it was Russia that was selling these cameras, right? People would be up in arms. They'd be going, hang on a second, what's Putin up to? Why is he selling all these cameras to the UK?
Yeah.
So that presumably he can watch what's going on.
Well,
I know it sounds a little bit paranoid.
Yeah, it does. It does.
With your sort of, connections to, the Russian scenario.
Sure.
It may well be that you should be watching China a bit more carefully.
Yeah, well, you say that, but I mean, I have to say, I find that very sinister indeed.
Yeah.
So that must mean that...
Well, this is all in the wake, of course, of this nuclear deal being signed by Theresa May.
Sure.
For this nuclear power station.
Which she put on hold, which is now gone
so
through.
not only are the Chinese owning now more and more property in this country, not only have they just decided to, fund a nuclear power station, but they're all watching us as well.
But you see, what you're saying is, when those cameras are sent from China to here, they are not just an individual camera, which is then put on an arm, which is then linked to a control room at Heathrow Airport. You're saying that somehow the Chinese, or this is the inference, have managed to tap into those cameras.
Well, it's possible. Let's put it that way. That's what MI6 is saying. It's that they could be doing
to hack into the cameras.
Yeah,
so there must be some chip or some elements within that camera in which the Chinese know about and which we don't, which means that there's a guy sitting in front of thousands of cameras back in Beijing scanning almost every aspect of British life.
Exactly.
This is incredible.
It is incredible. We'll talk some more about it coming up in the next hour. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. We are going to be a week tomorrow up in Whitley Bay.
We certainly are.
And if you haven't seen it yet, there's a little video on Two Mics TV, which I suppose we'll put out again a couple of times over the course of the weekend. Just to sort of catch the local flavour of it all. We're looking forward to that very much. And then it's Liverpool on November the 4th. And then it's Glasgow on December the 17th.
Aye, bonny lad.
So it's going to be very busy. We might have some news as well on an Edinburgh podcast very soon.
We might indeed,
that we did up there.
Hopefully next week.
Yes.
I have to say, I got a sales report from Liverpool yesterday, I think it was, and I couldn't believe how many people have bought tickets to come and see us in Liverpool.
Well, people have been saying we should go to Liverpool for quite a long time.
I thought I was sort of relatively unpopular in Liverpool.
Oh,
Perhaps they're coming because I am.
I don't think so.
Well, I have a kind of strange relationship with Everton fans. I get on with as many fans as I can, but some fans don't like me. For various reasons, and I've always been a very staunch supporter of Mr. Ken Wright and that sort of thing.
Funny enough, I selected a book earlier actually
from
the vast library here at Talk Sport.
Yes,
of different Liverpool sayings.
Oh yes,
and I'm just going to pick some things out at random. Really.
Okay.
For those of you watching in black and white, Liverpool are the team with the ball.
Yeah.
What do you think that one is?
That would be that would be. It's either Jimmy Hill or Kenneth Wilson.
No, it was a Liverpool fan's joke before the 1984 Milk Cup final with Everton.
Oh.
Funnily enough.
Well, what year?
84?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, that was one in a replay. It was 0-0, and then the replay was 1-0. I think Graham Souness scored the goal, but it was the start of Everton's great era, because a few weeks later we went back to Wembley and won the FA Cup against Watford.
Yeah. And how about this one? This is, he said, he is the target for all the hitmen in the game. He is the man they are after, yet few of them can kick him out of the game. That was Bob Paisley on Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I was going to say it was about Dalglish, probably. Yeah,
it's quite good, this book. Bill Shankly. There's Man United and Man City at the bottom of Division 1, and by God, they'll take some shifting.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, but hang on, I thought this was a book about the city of Liverpool. It's not. It's about Liverpool Football Club.
Liverpool Football
Club.
So
I'm not interested.
Why
thanks.
not?
Well, because
you said that you're very magnanimous about the city of Liverpool.
The city of Liverpool, but you're feeding me quotes now from Liverpool Football Club, of which I'm not a supporter.
Really?
So, thank you, I've had enough. Well, now, I want to tell you about something, okay?
All right. I love challenges. I like the aggravation that goes with football management. Graham Souness.
Yeah, Graham Souness, very good. Right, now then, I have come across something which I feel I should acquire because it would merit my status in life.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what a... you've got an American Express, haven't you?
Yes. What, a card?
Yeah, card.
Yeah, I have, thank you.
Yeah. I don't have one.
You invited some hackers to hack my card?
No.
Do you want to give them the number out?
No, but I know you use one. And that's probably, due to the fact you spend so long in America and all that kind of stuff. I use other cards, but the one I'm going to go after now is the Amex Black Card.
Yes.
Right?
That's because I've got a black card and you want one, right?
No, you haven't got a black card.
I've got a black card. We've had this conversation.
No, you haven't.
I have.
It's not even made of plastic.
I've got a black card.
It's made of aluminium.
What?
It's made of aluminium, what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know someone who's got one of those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you haven't got that one.
I haven't got a black American Express card, no.
That's what I'm saying. You just told me you had.
No, I've got a black card.
Oh, I see.
I've got a black account.
What, with American Express?
Not with American Express.
Oh, I see, with somebody else. Bank. Right. Okay, well, this... Right.
Because I remember when I explained to you that I had a black card, you had a great look of envy on your face, thinking, how look at this loser get a black card?
Right,
and why have I not got one?
Right. Now then, let me tell you this. It is called... The coveted Amex Black Card is called the Ultimate Status Symbol, right? Yeah. It's not made of plastic. The laser-edged card is made from titanium. How about that?
Yeah.
How about having a titanium card in your wallet?
But what do you think the annual fee is for a card
Well,
like
I'm
that?
just about to tell you. Amex's invitation-only card, so they have to write to you and ask you if you want to subscribe, right? So I'm going to get this sorted.
Do you know what they did to me, actually, not long ago?
What?
They wrote to me and invited me to apply for a platinum card.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I've got a gold card, which is, bog standard.
I've got a platinum card,
most people have got
not
one,
Amex,
right?
but I've got a platinum card.
So I went, well, okay then. So I went through this rigmarole online and filled out a few bits of paper on, bits of forms online. And then they didn't give it to me.
What, they turned you down?
Yeah.
Well, they invited you to apply.
And I rang them up. I'm like, well, you're wasting my time. I said, it took me about 15 minutes to fill this thing out. I said, I didn't really want one because it's about 400 quid a year, whereas the normal one is about 100. You know? Right. And so I'm thinking, I don't really need a platinum card, but if they're going to offer me one, maybe I'll get one.
And what were the extra advantages of platinum?
Well, I think you can do more things with it. You know, you can spend more money. You can go buy a car or something.
Exactly.
Which I would never do.
No.
You know, but it gives you access to airport lounges and stuff like that. You know.
Anyway, let me tell you. So they have to invite you, right? The laser edge card's made from titanium. Amex's invitation-only card. The joining fee is £4,000.
Yes,
that's the joining fee.
Right, because I think you do not have to be a millionaire or something to.
Well, hang on, I'm just about to tell you. Right, so the joining fee is £4,000. The annual fee, once you've paid your first £4,000, is another £2,200.
Right.
So even before you've spent a penny on your Amex Black card, you've shelled out £6,200.
But it gives you access to things like, the concierge service.
Well, let me tell you. Also, American Express will never divulge the names of people who have their black card. Okay,
unless they're asked to by the Internal Revenue Service in America.
I don't know what the rules are there. And in order to retain it after your first year, you have to have spent over $200,000, or they take it back.
Well, you don't want to get one of those, do you?
Well,
what are you going to spend $200,000 on?
Well, I could,
if you could, I'm sure you could find a way of doing it.
If I want to invest in another property, maybe.
Well, you can't just go and put it on your Amex card, can you?
Well, I think you can.
Because you still have to pay the balance every month.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well,
so what? You just go and do that?
Well, I mean,
so you could get a $200,000 bill and just pay it?
No, but I could if it was on Amex. I could, if I'd applied for a mortgage and been granted the mortgage, then I could be flash and say, I'll have that new property.
Do you remember that scene in The Wolf of Wall Street, which I watched again the other night, where the dad's getting very worked up with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he comes in a rage saying, look at this American Express bill. It's $150,000. That's just last month. What's this, such and such entertainment? It was all hookers.
Right, yeah, of course, that's right, so you have to spend $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
But not only that, you have to prove that your total household income is over $1 million a year.
I was going to say, I think you have to be a millionaire to be invited to join.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, it's better. It gets even better. I'm reading more of the rules. You have to also, on application, be able to prove that you have a net worth of in excess of £12.5 million. I mean, good God.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? That is totally ridiculous. But I mean, the person I know that's got one, apparently you can pretty much walk into any restaurant and get a table.
Yes.
You can walk into any hotel and get the presidential suite. They've got all sorts of things.
Well, here I'll tell you.
But it's a rich man's toy, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, very much so. Now, some of the names who do have one, and this is not released by Amex, but it's because they've been captured in paparazzi pictures with one in their hand in a restaurant. Simon Cowell, Naomi Campbell, Lady Gaga, and various other celebrities. Now, what's included in if you're so? I mean, the figures are astonishing, but they say actually £13 million to most people who hold an American Express Black Card is a pittance. They literally describe it as a pittance. Okay, net worth of $12.5 million is a pittance. Anyway, what's included in ownership is 24-hour concierge service, which can guarantee, you're absolutely right, clients a table at almost any restaurant in the world. Yeah. And travel agent facilities 24 hours a day.
Right.
So you can ring up a number and, if you and I were flying to Rome tomorrow on business, we could ring them up now and say...
sort the tickets.
The Cipriani Hotel in Venice. Get us a table in the restaurant there for tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, please, OK? And also, sort out the tickets. We'll be at Heathrow at such and such. Have the tickets on the British Airways desk.
I mean, for giving them $4,000 a year, it's quite a lot of... It's not very much service for that kind of money.
Absolutely. They will also provide you with personal shoppers in whichever city you're in.
Right.
At designer stores...
like Pierre Cardin?
No, not Pierre Cardin. At designer stores, which include Gucci and Escada. What's Escada?
Escada? Oh, I guess it's some Italian designer.
I suppose so, yeah.
Not one I'm familiar with.
Right, get this right. You are guaranteed first-class flight upgrades and free hotel rooms when you've accumulated enough points.
Yes.
Right? And if you're spending 200,000 a year, that ain't going to take long.
Well, I imagine you could get that on a gold card as well. If I spent 200,000 a year on a gold card, I think I'd get a free upgrade as well.
Yeah, probably. And travel insurance for any trip booked through the card is as read.
But that's the same. But that's already there for the gold card as well.
Yeah,
you get that as well.
Right, now here we go. Spending limits.
Yeah.
Are any spending limits put on your card? No. And although there are no fast and fixed rules that are published or written down, it is said to be limitless.
Right.
Because they wouldn't give you the card unless they thought you had enough credit.
So you could go and buy an Aston Martin or something with it.
Exactly. It says the largest purchase, now I've just said to you, I'd go and bung it down on a new apartment or something, right? The largest purchase ever made on an Amex Black Card was around £130 million for a painting purchased at a Christie's auction house.
Right.
The owner is unknown.
You imagine just putting your PIN number in for that.
My God.
That's ridiculous.
I
can see you're fascinated by this.
Well, I mean...
Well, don't waste your money on it, would be my advice.
I don't think they're going to give me one, because I can admit to all of you out there, somewhat shamefully...
You mean your net worth is not in excess of 12 million?
I don't have anything like 12.5 million, I'm afraid,
really?
or anything like it, no.
Shocking.
I mean, I feel like a bum. I do.
Well, you dress like one, so why not?
Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? But I do. I feel very deflated.
Never mind.
Because I thought my aspirations in life were such that I'd arrived at a certain station in life.
Nothing was denied to you.
Well, yeah, almost, yeah. But this is a different level. It's a different level. Look, you and I have got to start working harder.
Yeah, all right. I can't work any harder than I do already.
We're going to get the Two Mics company, as it is, into the FTSE 100.
Well, you'll have to stop entertaining young ladies then at the Savoy.
Well, you have to stop buying champagne every day, just for a quick
I didn't use
tipple.
I didn't use any account that was related to the Two Mics for that.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, it's now 2017, by the way. It's the New York Jets against the Buffalo Bills. It's in the third quarter. This is Talk Sport.
Bill Clinton, born and raised in Arkansas, never knew his real papa. Long planned to go into law. Avoid
Can't be too many songs about Arkansas, can there?
Is that a song about Arkansas?
Well, Arkansas was in the lyrics.
It's the poorest state in the Union, Arkansas.
It sounds like it's a song all about Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, did you see that? I saw a piece today about Hillary Clinton and all that, and it said that that expression that the former Defence of the Chief Staff used, Colin Powell.
Oh, Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, didn't you see what he said?
No.
In this, somebody hacked into his emails, and he was talking about, the Clintons.
Yeah.
And he used the expression that Bill Clinton is still, ! Bimbos.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
That's a shocking allegation to make.
Absolutely.
Well, how would he know anyway?
Because he'd been told, I mean, he keeps his eye on, what's going on in the American political world and all that, and said, well, she's out on the campaign trail.
No, I guess so.
Bill is still back at home, and bimbos.
Continuing.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for that information.
Yeah, I thought
I'm not sure if that's going to come up in the quiz.
Well, I don't think it would.
Because the quiz is about the Clintons in general. Okay?
Indeed.
And as usual, there are 10 questions, which have only one answer. There's no room for manoeuvre on that.
Okay.
If you get one correct, you will hear this sound.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I like that.
If you get one incorrect, you will hear this.
I'm a pretty lousy president.
Yeah, very much so. Okay,
Right.
you ready for question number one?
I'm ready.
Where and when did Bill and Hillary meet?
They met at Yale Law School, which is part of Yale University. And that was, and they got, no, I'm thinking aloud, folks. Excuse me. That's the air conditioning, not my thinking.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's not thinking that does that to me. And
well, you get half a point for Yale University.
Yeah. And
year.
They got married in 1975. Hang on, let me just work this one through. Now, she is now 68. That's her age. Hang on. So that's, hang on a sec. Just thinking aloud. 50 years of 50. Yeah, okay. I know. They met at Yale University in 1972.
Incorrect.
No.
I'm a pretty lousy president.
You'll get half a point for Yale University.
Yeah.
They met in 1970.
Well, that was close.
What does it matter if it was
Well,
close?
I deserve half a point for that.
No, you get half a point for Yale.
Same decade.
No, you don't get that at all. Absolutely rubbish. Question number 2.
Right.
When was Chelsea born?
Chelsea.
Yes.
Chelsea.
Need a date for that.
Yeah, Chelsea was born in They were married in 75. Chelsea was born in 1978.
Incorrect.
No!
I'm a pretty lousy
She was
president.
born on February 27th, 1980.
1980.
Mm-hmm. Afraid so. That's half a point out
Well,
of
that was
2.
very close, though.
Well,
that was
it doesn't
very,
matter.
very close.
No, it wasn't close enough.
Very
Question
close.
number 3. What did Hillary have as First Lady that no other First Lady ever had?
I'll tell you exactly what she had as First Lady ever had. She had the first official set of offices in the White House for a First Lady. The West Wing is always the power wing for the President. She set up an office of the First Lady in the East Wing.
I'm going to give you the point anyway,
Thank you.
but you've actually
Thank you.
elaborated too much. She had
Right.
an office in the West Wing, actually.
Right, okay.
Congratulations.
And
Thank
she was the
you,
first
Mr.
lady,
President.
first lady to ever have an office in the West Wing of the White
Thank
House.
you.
Question number 4.
Yes.
Who administered the oath of office to Bill Clinton on January the 20th, 1996?
1996. Now, that was his second term. As,
It
his
was.
first one was 92. Well,
Correct.
he was inaugurated. The election was 91. He was inaugurated in January 92. So this was what? January 96?
January 96, yeah.
But the second one. And who
The question is who administered the oath of office?
who administered the oath of office?
You know, so the guy that
Yeah,
stands
yeah,
there
I
and
know,
says,
yeah. On the colonnade there,
Yeah.
at the Capitol in DC. That would have. Now, this must be somebody very prominent, obviously. So it's usually. I always thought it was the. I thought it was the Speaker of the House who was. I think it was Tip O'Neill by the second one, but if it wasn't the Speaker of the House, then it was the head of the Justice Department. I'm going to have to go for. Because I think he was still there. The Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill.
Incorrect.
No!
I'm a pretty
It
lousy
was,
president.
in fact, Supreme Court Justice William Rehnquist.
Well, how was I supposed to know that?
Well, that was
He's
your
not
period.
famous.
That was your era.
He's not famous,
Rehnquist
Rehnquist.
is very famous.
He wasn't famous.
Of course he was.
No, he's not.
Every Supreme Court Justice is
I
famous.
thought you meant he was some kind of guy who rose to great prominence,
It's
you know.
always a Supreme Court Justice. William Rehnquist was very well known. You're supposed to be an expert on the Clintons.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a bum question.
Question number 5.
Yeah.
When did Hillary famously stand by her man as he denied having sex with that woman, Monica
Yeah.
Lewinsky?
Yeah.
Looking for a date.
Yes. A date. Okay. I think she actually said, thinking aloud, she actually said, I'm not like that country and western singer, you know, Tammy Wynette, stand by your man, going home to cook, to bake cupcakes. That was the famous quote. But this is a different situation.
It was baked cookies, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Monica Lewinsky, the Monica Lewinsky situation arose and nearly caused him a problem in 1999.
Yes?
What?
Yes? I'm looking for a date, though, not just a year.
What do you mean?
I'm looking for a date. There was a famous press conference that she and he gave.
Yes.
On a particular date, on a particular year. So 1999 is not enough. You might get half a point if you get the year.
Okay. I've got the year, 1999.
Well,
1999. And it was on a particular date. So it's kind of a celebrity date. Is this what we're talking about?
Well,
sort
I can't give you any
like,
clues.
Like sort of Easter Sunday or something like that.
Well,
Thinking aloud.
I can't give you
I'm
any
saying,
clues.
Not saying 1999.
what's Easter Sunday got to do with celebrities?
Well, I mean the celebrity date, like not just like, Thursday the 27th, but yeah, I see what you
I'm
mean.
looking for a day. I just need a date.
A date. I think, I tell you what, I can give you a month.
Well,
It was November 1999.
incorrect.
No!
I'm a pretty lousy president.
It was, in fact, January 26, 1998.
What?
So you didn't get the year right anyway.
But you let me go on when I said
I didn't say it was
1999.
right. I can't give you an answer and tell you it's right, can I? Unless you give
I
me the whole
kept
thing.
saying 1999, and then you said I need more.
I said I need more than just the year.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you it was the right year.
Crikey, I said 1999.
Well, it was the wrong year.
You said I need more than the year. That gives me an indication I had the right year.
Well, I can't help
That's
that.
gerrymandering.
I can't help that.
That is gerrymandering.
I did not tell you it was the right year.
It's outrageous.
You just assumed it was. Question number 6. What is Chelsea's husband's name?
Chelsea's husband's name? Well, it's not Mrs. Clinton, obviously, because
No, that would be...
sorry, not Mr. Clinton. I mean,
not
because
Mr. Clinton.
obviously,
Unless he took her name, of course.
yeah, he didn't, did he? Now, do you want his first name or his second name?
I want both his names.
You want both his names.
I mean, I'm not asking for his middle name. I just want his first name and his second name.
Right, Chelsea's husband. Because, of course, they've had a grandchild. Well, they've had a child,
Well,
which is
they've
a
had a
grandchild
child.
to the
Yes.
to the former president and the former
You
first
don't get anything
lady,
for that.
Secretary of State. So that would be right. Let me see. I can remember his first name. His first name is David, and his second name is, I think it's something like Swangate. David Swangate. Or something like
Swangate.
that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Incorrect.
I'm a pretty lousy president.
It is nothing like David Swangate.
What is it?
It's Mark Mezvinsky. Where'd you get David Swangate
Well, I kind of, it's in the back of my head, you know. I thought.
Who's David Swangate?
Well, maybe it was a former boyfriend of hers that she didn't marry or something like that. Yeah.
Question number 7. What
Yeah.
was Roger Clinton's Secret Service code name?
Roger Clinton was the half-brother of Bill Clinton,
That's right, yeah.
Thinking aloud. He was also a man who was known to have ingested nefarious substances.
Yes.
He also tried to pursue a career as a rock singer on the back of his brother being president of the United States, and actually signed a deal, right, with a record company in which he promised to produce Bill as the saxophone player on his next record, and the record company fell for it and said, "Oh, and gave him $50,000."
He also did time, I think, for some drug offences.
he did. Yeah. So what do you want?
I want his code name.
Code name of the Secret Service.
Yeah.
What's this got to do with Bill and Hillary Clinton? Nothing.
The quiz is on the Clintons.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
know.
Bill and Hillary. It's on the Clintons.
The Clintons, but he's
And
only a half-brother.
Well, he's a Clinton. His name is Clinton. He's part of the family.
Yes. Okay, so Secret Service code name was... I reckon it was... The Rat.
No, incorrect.
I'm a pretty lousy president.
It was Headache.
Headache.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you've been complaining of headaches the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think the heat's been giving me headaches. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, because the trouble is, right, you kind of, you kind of loll about inside the house.
Yeah.
And it's actually cooler if you go. I worked out today when I went out. It's actually cooler to go out.
Yeah, well, you went out today and ingested champagne. That's probably why you've got a headache.
No, it's nothing to do with that. I
Right,
had a
can we
headache.
move on, please?
I had a the day before.
Move on.
I haven't got a headache now.
Yeah. Which you
Question
did have.
number 8. Which office did Bill Clinton hold from 1977 to 1979?
77 to 79.
Yes.
He was the... 79, 80. Oh, I know what he was. Now, he did 3 terms as governor of Arkansas, but before that, because he was a qualified lawyer, and so for 2 years in Arkansas, he was the state attorney general.
Is that your answer?
My answer is State Attorney General of Arkansas.
Correct.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Woo,
Thank you, Mr. President.
woo.
You've now got 2.5 out of 8.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
No, it's 3.5.
No, it's 2.5.
No.
You only got number 3 right, which was which office did Hillary have?
Yeah.
Or what did Hillary have that
Yeah.
was unlike anything else? You
Yeah.
got that one, and you got half a point for question 1 about where
Well, I
they
should have
met.
got half a point for 1999 because you told me it was right.
Well, it wasn't right though.
Yeah.
Question 9.
Yeah.
In 2009, Bill was named UN Special Envoy to which country?
In 2009,
Yes.
Bill Clinton was named as U.S. Special Envoy.
UN Special Envoy.
UN Special Envoy.
To which country?
To which country? To 2009. Let me see. Thinking aloud. Could it be China? Thinking aloud. Could be. Let me think. Could be Russia. No, I don't think relations were that good. UN Special Envoy, China. Who else did the Americans need to sort of impress? Wasn't a European country. I'm going to have to say Special Envoy to... Yeah, I'm going to say China.
Incorrect.
No!
I'm a pretty lousy president.
It was Haiti.
Haiti?
Haiti, yes.
Haiti's hardly even a country.
What do you mean it's hardly even a country?
Haiti's like a bunch of gangsters,
Haiti.
you know. Yeah, led
Tony
by...
Haiti.
Tony Haiti, yeah. Led by, you know, a
Well, it's a
corrupt
very poor
president.
country. Well, it's a very poor country.
It's the poorest country on earth, almost, I think.
It's one of them, yeah.
Why would
That's why they
why
need
would the
so much-
Americans need an envoy?
Well, it's the United Nations, I said.
Oh, United
UN.
Nations.
Yeah. Haiti, that was shortly before they had the earthquake. And then they thought, and then he and another former president, I think it was the elder Bush, set up a sort of charity for them as well. Question number 10. Yes. See if you can get more than 2.5.
Yes.
What did Hillary's father do for a living?
Hillary's father, for a living, now she was blue stocking. That means she came from, a very respectable upper middle class district of Chicago.
Oh, the New York Jets are in the lead again, 26-24.
Oh, wow. Is that right?
Yeah, they've just got a touchdown.
Like anybody cares.
It's a very good game, this, by the way.
Nobody cares, honestly.
Yeah, they do.
No, you're fooling yourself. So, I believe he was...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Hang on a second. He was... I'm almost certain. Thinking aloud. He was in the medical profession. So... Or he could have been a car salesman. I can't give you any clues.
Hang
on. I think, do you know what? I think he might have had a car franchise thing. He was a car salesman.
Incorrect.
No!
I'm a pretty lousy president.
He ran a small textile business in Illinois.
Textile
business.
That's all he did.
That's what he did. She actually came from it wasn't a poor background, but it wasn't particularly wealthy either.
Yeah.
So you got 2.5.
Oh, well, I mean, the questions weren't good. I thought
they were very good.
No, I didn't think they were very good.
I mean, I think the independent quizmasters made them very fair this time around. So last time you got 3 out of 10 on Hillary.
Yeah.
This time you got 2.5 out of 10 on the Clintons in general.
Yeah. Well,
so frankly, you're going backwards.
No, I don't think so.
Shocking performance for a man who claims to be an expert on the Clintons.
Well, if I was asked proper questions, I'd give you proper answers. But when they're so perverse, as to be ridiculous.
Well, as you know, I don't
the Secret Service name of the half-bake who was Bill Clinton's half-brother, who was a cokehead.
But you covered all that, so you should have known that.
And a fraud.
But you covered that period.
And a criminal.
But you covered that period.
Ridiculous.
Should have known it all. This is Talk Sport.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. But still before we go do it all again, you better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Quite a few reactions to the quiz. William says Porky gives a wealth of knowledge on all the quizzes, but unfortunately very few correct answers on the questions that are asked.
Yeah, but the audience have got this. They know that I'm, very knowledgeable about my subject, and that's why I always expand on the question with the knowledge I have.
Yes, in the hopes that you will be able to illustrate how much you know without actually knowing the answer.
No, to illustrate to the audience how perverse the questions are.
Well, not really. See, because what happens is some of the people who are a bit more gullible out there start to believe your propaganda, like Stephen, who says, great effort, Porky, gerrymandered as usual. It should be one answer per question, which it is, and most not even about the Clintons.
Exactly.
Sorry, Stephen. So when I ask, when did Bill and Hillary meet, is that not about the Clintons? When I ask, when was Chelsea born, that's not about the Clintons.
Yeah, but you see, that's
what did Hillary have as First Lady? Is that not about the Clintons?
Yeah, but I got that right, you see. I knew all that.
Yeah,
but it's indefinable.
Every single question was about the Clintons.
The problem is it's indefinable as to when Bill and Hillary met.
Yes.
Because, how do we know? Well, because
you can read
we only have a public guesstimate.
No, you don't. Both Hillary and Bill have written books and said when they met. It was 1970 at Yale University after running into each other several times in the library.
Exactly. I knew that.
R. Stoddard says, appalling performance, Porky, almost as appalling as Clinton's corruption.
Oh, really?
Becky says, very fair questions on the quiz. I got 4 out of 10.
Oh, really?
Porky knows more about Clinton cars
who says that?
than the political family. Becky in New Zealand.
Oh, she's a smart ass, huh?
Well, she knew more about the Clintons than you did.
Oh, you think so, do you?
FC says, Porky, he was in the medical profession, or possibly a car salesman.
Yeah, well,
and Dylan says, David Swangate, absolute classic Porky.
What?
Classic Porky, David Swangate. You just pick this name out of nowhere.
No, I had it from somewhere. He was some part of the family somewhere, I can tell you.
Yes.
I know that for sure.
And Dazza says, thinking aloud. No! He says, when you hear this, you know Porky is failing the Porky quiz.
No, I don't think so.
Because the only time you don't do thinking aloud is when you're using some form of cheating device.
I think that's very unfair. Listen, have you seen the way that the Russians, right, you won't believe this, but, like the Russians are not communists anymore. They're they're capitalists now.
Yes.
You know that, yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway.
Although they haven't changed their views on an awful lot of things, have they? They've just kind of decided not to be called communists
Yes,
anymore.
that's right, yeah.
Because they were never really communists.
No.
The guys that ran the place.
I totally agree. But what I find is amazing is that... they've moved big time into business for obvious reasons. They've got oligarchs working all around the world now. Now they've turned their hand to marketing and promotion. And guess who they're using as this is the face of Russia. This is the...
Who is it?
Well, both Lenin and Marx.
Yeah.
I mean, you won't believe it, but I mean, if you look at some of these illustrations I'm going to show you, those images, they're actually using, one of the world's
I've seen this
most notorious killers, most notorious ruthless dictators who killed hundreds of millions of people.
But they're trying to. Did we not talk about this before? Because they're trying to make them look sort of more modern, aren't they?
They're trying to make them look trendy.
Yeah.
They've got a picture there of
Marx in a leather jacket.
Yeah, Marx, but they got Lenin. Puffing on a vape cigarette.
Yeah.
So don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Do what Lenin would have done and have a vape or whatever it's called,
Right. Well, because people often talk about how America has kind of lost its identity since 9/11 and doesn't really know what it's about, which is partly why Trump is now being so successful.
Yes.
But the Russians must have that problem as well, mustn't they? Because, I mean, for centuries, well, not centuries, but for, a couple of hundred years, they've had this view of the world, which is that they are very much sort of downtrodden, trying to give everybody the same deal.
Yeah.
Whereas now, then they're a sort of thrusting capitalist economy.
Well, part of it is, 1% of it is. The other 99% still poverty-stricken, living in, council flats in, big cities, and nobody cares about them. Yeah. And it's always been the way. And as for the rest, in the old Siberian salt camps, they got forgot about altogether. They didn't even feed them.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. But what I find so amazing about Russia is that the world knows the power they've got, and Russia knows the power they've got, but the two have never come together, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Russia cannot influence the power they have on the world
apart
from... And this is plenty of evidence of this criminality.
Well, it's not just that, I suppose. I mean, they could, but the view of Russia from our perspective is completely different than the Russians' view, isn't it? I mean, they believe all the stuff that Putin says, which is that every sort of act that is against Russia is is sort of malignant and nasty and
Western
horrible
plot
coming from the West, even getting banned from the Paralympics.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, you talked about cruises before, right? About going to Alaska and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Now, cruising is massive these days, and you see literally 12-page supplements in the weekend papers now for cruises and all that. And one of the most popular is the cruise to St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Because you go along that canal,
Yeah.
that takes you, I think it was between Moscow and St. Petersburg or something like that. I don't know. But certainly St. Petersburg is a place worth going to.
Have you been to St. Petersburg?
No. I've been to Moscow.
You've been to Moscow,
a few times, but I haven't been to St. Petersburg, and fear...
Should we not go and make some kind of sort of a recce about the World Cup or something?
What do you mean?
Well, the World Cup's in Russia in 2018.
It is, yeah. Well,
should we not try and manufacture some kind of reason to go there?
I think
do
we should.
Do a show from Russia.
But when we got there, if we saw a huge poster of Stalin, right? Never mind Lenin. This is Stalin now, right? An even worse killer.
Yeah.
A big poster of him. Smoking on an e-cigarette and with a caption below which says, this will keep you safe.
Yes.
When in fact Stalin went around murdering 300 million of his own people.
Well, I mean, when you were there,
yes.
I presume it was after Glasnost, wasn't it? So you wouldn't have seen great big posters like that.
Oh no, I've been there before and after.
Oh, right.
I was there.
So were you there when they had the big posters?
I was there when there was nothing. There were no posters. It was black and white.
Yeah.
Moscow used to be black and white, literally black and white.
Right.
There was no colour in the city at all. And then, of course, 2 or 3 years after the wall fell and all that, it became like Las Vegas.
Right.
I mean, literally overnight, so to speak. You know what I mean? And that's when all the posters appeared. But I do find it a fascinating country. But I can't understand. To me, this is another indication of what you've just said. Russia's view of themselves internally and the world view of Russia are totally different.
Right.
How can they expect anybody around the world to say, oh, that's a really nice poster, it's got Joe Stalin on it?
Right.
Joe Stalin sent all these people to the Siberian salt camps and murdered them. But
presumably a large bulk of the population don't think that. Or they don't, they don't believe the story.
Perhaps they don't know. It also says that communist support often comes from pensioners, of which there are, hundreds of millions in Russia.
Yeah.
But the party is deploying another weapon in its fight to attract a more youthful following. Jeff the Snowman Monson, an American mixed martial arts fighter. Have you heard of him?
No.
Jeff Monson?
Jeff Monson? No, I don't think so.
Mr. Monson became a Kremlin cheerleader after he lost a bout to a Russian fighter in 2011, and Mr. Putin called him to express admiration at his valour.
Oh, really?
He is now sports ambassador for the Communist Party in Moscow.
How bizarre.
Monson, who describes himself as an anarchist, says he deplores the party's swing towards centrist politics since the fall of the Soviet state and wants it to move back left.
He just describes himself as an anarchist?
Yeah.
That's not very good, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It says liberal commentators in Russia are alarmed at the rehabilitation of the communist heavyweights, especially Stalin, presided over the Great Terror in the 1930s, in which millions of people were shot or sent to the Gulag. So, I mean...
people still disappear, though, don't they? Do you remember who was that guy that was shot on the bridge? You know, walking across the bridge from the Kremlin. And it turned out that miraculously the CCTV, which perhaps they hadn't brought in from China,
that's right,
was not switched on.
It was not
so
switched
they couldn't actually see who'd killed him.
And believe it or not, at the very time, Mr. Putin was holding a cabinet meeting in the Kremlin, which was within sight of the pavement where he got shot.
But nobody had any idea what happened.
Nobody had any
idea. Or who was
happened.
to blame.
Right. Now then, what's your plan?
We've hardly got any time left.
What's your plan for the weekend?
My plan for the weekend is relatively loose, I think. Okay. Although I did mention to you, I think, that our mutual friend, Mr. Mickey Brennan, might possibly be in town. This is our friend that lives in Costa Rica.
Excellent, yeah.
Former photographer, who's now retired.
Yeah.
But his mum is still around, and his sister is still around.
Where do they live?
And they live in Pevensey Bay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he might be possibly visiting from there. So I might see him on Sunday.
And this is from Costa Rica.
From Costa Rica, yeah.
Where's he fly to from Costa Rica?
Well, I presume he flies into Heathrow, isn't he?
What, direct from Costa Rica?
I would guess so, unless you have to come. I don't think he's allowed to go back through America.
No, because he owes taxes.
Well, I'm not sure if he owes taxes. I don't think it's necessarily that.
What is it then?
I don't know. I think there might be visa issues or something like that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, his wife was Costa Rican, and she used to work in Bloomingdale's.
That's right.
And I think, he always had a green card to work, but I'm not sure if she was able to stay.
Right.
Because she, I think, had a green card through work.
Right.
And then once, that's one of the problems. If you live in a place like America, if you suddenly retire, because this happened to a friend of mine, and you might remember her, called Susie, who used to work in the British consulate.
Yeah.
But when she left the place because she was retiring, they kicked her out of the country.
That's terrible.
Because you don't accrue any rights to live there if you're a foreigner. So if you've got a green card because you're working, as soon as you stop working, you're out.
Yeah, but you should go for an independent green card like your sister's done, shouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but but she's still working though.
Yeah,
that's different. She's a citizen now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, get the green card.
But if you can't do that, they basically kick you out.
Yeah, well,
so it's a bit brutal like that.
It's brutal because we know there are millions and millions of illegal immigrants in America anyway who got there by climbing over fences.
No, well, they won't be able to climb over Trump's
wall.
they
won't. No, that's true.
So anyway, other than that, I'll just be spending time with the kids really.
Excellent, good.
Maybe having a few fires. And
good.
Drinking a bit of champagne.
I'm going to Goodison.
You are going to Goodison. So we'll have plenty of stories to talk about, I'm sure, on Monday, right?
I'll put out a few tweets and pictures of myself because people like to see them.
They do. They like to, especially when you're on the train. Try not to sing any Beatles songs either.
Yeah.
We are the Two Mics. This is TalkSport. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV. This new restaurant that's opened up was visited just the night before by 3 members of Paul McCartney's band because apparently they were down in Sussex doing something. What?
Which band?
The band that he currently has. Not Wings. I don't know. But they play
what were the names of these musicians?
I don't know what they were, but there was a picture of them in the restaurant because they'd been out there and they were recording something with Paul McCartney down in Sussex.
Hang on.
I just thought you'd like that piece of information.
Let me just get this right. 3 members of a band whose names you don't know.
Yeah.
Who play in a band whose name you don't know.
Yeah.
Allegedly
they play
Paul
with Paul McCartney,
who doesn't seem to have a band at the moment.
Oh, no, but he always has a band, doesn't he? I mean, what do you know about music? You can put on the back of a bloody postage stamp.
Well, I mean, what you know about
what I'm
Paul
telling you is that he's
band.
Recording something in Sussex, and 3 of the
what's he
people.
Recording?
Well, he's probably recording some music, Porky. What do you think?
So you don't know who these 3 unnamed members, an unknown band, are recording, or if they're recording, where they're recording.
No, but I'm telling you it because you're such a maniac about the Beatles. I thought you might be interested. If you're not interested, you can get stuff. Okay, you can get lost and you can bugger off.
You told me this is a nugget of great information.
Well, I thought you'd be interested.
In fact, it's a palpable piece of...
Stick it up your jumper.
A palpable piece of nonsense.
Bearded weirdo.
Palpable piece of nonsense.
This is TalkSport. I'm sick of the Beatles. I'm sick of you.
What a load of rubbish.
Yeah, bearded